empty hearts and neon lights. They're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly. And I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Show me what you got. Oh,
Is that everything you got?
last turn.
Catch me if you can.
That was great.
That was a good game.
Unlock true experience with GT Omega.
Unleash the racer in you and feel the thrill of racing all out on the open road.
Well, hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as we get to the business end of the GT Omega Challenger Cup. We are here for a very special night indeed, and by we, I mean myself, David Christie, and Yousuf Bin-Suhayl. More on the introductions in just a second, but what has brought us to this point right now? Well, we have had an incredible 6 races so far this season here in Assetto Corsa Competizione for this Team Challenge Cup. We've been to the likes of Donington, we've been to the likes of Monza and Spa. Last time out, we were at the incredible Mount Panorama, but this week it's the turn of MISANO over in Italy. Yousuf, a very good evening. Welcome along again to the stream. Firstly, have you recovered from the intensity that was last week at Bathurst?
I have just about recovered from the intensity. As you guys might be able to see, hair's still wet from the shower. It's almost like I've got little horns coming up like a devil. Haven't had any gel to go in, so as you could say, I'm gel-less. I'm jealous of David because for once he's got better hair than me. Jealous of his fantastic Scottish accent. And of course, jealous of all of our drivers on the track who have far more skill than I do in a sim rig.
Hang on, wait, whoa. For once, better hair, mate. Come on now. It takes skill to look this much like a poodle. Anyway, we digress. Right, let's talk about the championship so far, because tonight is a huge night. BS+ competition on the verge of sealing this entire championship with the dominant performance that they've got. 82 points is what stands in between them in second place, Yas Heat with GTWR, and then it's Volante Sim Racing all the way down there in third position. I say all the way down there, I mean third position out of this incredible lineup would still be a heck of a feat, but it's all looking like it's going to be very, very good for BS Plus competition tonight here.
Absolutely. They've been in top form all throughout the season. 2 seconds, 4 wins. You can't ask for much more of them. But we have seen from Yas Heat, GTWR, that they have pace. And we saw last time out at Mount Panorama, they had some issues with... We don't quite know what it was. We were speaking to Luke Whitehead about, and he was just saying that the setup didn't feel the same from when they were practicing to when they jumped into the server, and Zahida S's tyre pressures were all over the place. But once we saw Luke Whitehead jumping into the car, they looked so quick, and we're actually closing in on BS Plus competition. And actually the team that finished in second, which was Volante Racing, who picked up their first second of the season. So here this time, George Boothby and Luke Whitehead will be your driver pairing again. Maybe this time they can finally take that win off from BS Plus competition.
Very different circuit, of course, here at MISANO. It's a wonderful flowing circuit, but not much in the way of elevation change like last week at Bathurst at Mount Panorama. 2.6 miles, obviously, for the Grand Prix circuit. A really fast flowing technical circuit here that we've got coming up tonight, but more importantly, very open, very spaced out, Yousuf, and that's going to allow for a lot of overtaking tonight.
Yeah, and it's the exact opposite of what we saw at Bathurst. And I think last week when we were at Bathurst, we were talking about the contrast in circuits from MISANO, and indeed our season finale next week at Silverstone compared to Bathurst, where you've got walls on either side of you. It's like almost a Monaco in the forest. Here at MISANO, you've got lots of room. You can go for a send. You can try to hang it around the outside. If it goes wrong, you just go wide, you bring yourself back onto the track, and all you'll lose is maybe a tiny bit of tyre pressure. So it does mean that we should be seeing a lot more wheel-to-wheel battling here at MISANO, and it does mean that we should be seeing the cars getting that little bit closer and a little bit more drama as well.
Yeah, we'll take you around the circuit as soon as qualifying is on the cards, which will be just a couple of minutes' time. Meanwhile, there are real important things to be decided here tonight, Yousuf. Mostly what our production team are going to be having for supper, according to the Twitch chat there. I'm thinking it's feeling like maybe a little bit like a Chinese tonight. Maybe some mixed chow mein, some spring rolls even. That's what I quite fancy.
Spring
But
noodles.
yeah,
Are those any different from the winter noodles?
I'm not
Or
sure, mate.
same?
I tried to say spring rolls, but I've really got udon noodles on the mind. I could really go for some of them right now. So yeah. Anyway, let's enough of the distracting ourselves with food, because it does sound kind of nice right now. But the point being, a huge thank you to everyone that is joining us on the Twitch chat tonight, because obviously it's great to have your company, and we very much appreciate it. Now, this is a little bit different because it's the middle of the night here, Yousuf. 2:05 a.m. The track temperature very cold indeed. Well, relatively cold to where we've had it before, just 14 degrees Celsius. So they're in the middle of free practice tonight. A couple of the drivers dropping out. We've only got 17 in the server with us just now. But I guess what we have to focus on is that number 89 at the top of Gregor Schill.
And it's not too surprising, is it, to see Gregor Schill at the top, the team that has finished first or second in every single race. Gregor Schill, I don't think we saw last time out. He got replaced, so we still saw Angus Fender at the wheel of the car. I forget who he was teammated with.
In the BMW.
Yes.
Was
I'm
it
pretty
not
sure it wasn't.
Luke? No, it wasn't Luke Whitehead. Sorry, that's a completely different team. I will have to go and double check back in my notes for that one for you.
Because I know on our team roster we've got Ryan Barneveld as a third driver, but I'm very sure I'd never said Ryan in last week's broadcast.
No, you haven't. Ryan's not been in as of yet. I think it might have just been then. It wasn't. I don't think it was Nils. No, but we'll find out anyway. We'll go back through the team roster sheet anyway. In fact, actually, didn't we have Ryan? I'm sure we did have Ryan in. I'm sure Ryan was in like week 1 or week 2.
Ah, maybe, but I wasn't here week 1 and week 2, so
Yeah,
I
late
will
to the
claim
party.
ignorance on that. Yeah, I just got these late invitations. Actually, to be fair, I was supposed to be commentating either the first or the second race, but I had Ramadan, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to be commentating while I'm fasting. I've done that before, and it can be a real pain at times. However, free practice is nearing a close. You've got 2 minutes left. We'll see whether the qualifying server is in the same nighttime conditions or whether we'll be getting closer to daybreak, which will mean that we're in a situation where the temperature of the circuit will be rising over our 15-minute qualifying session.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives us plenty of time to say a huge thank you and a huge shout out to our commercial partners over at Simracing.GP and over at Moza Racing. Simracing.GP, obviously a platform offering a multi-platform solution to your sim racing needs. And what that means in plain English is basically, you know, with all the different sims, all the different platforms, it can be really difficult finding a good place or a good community to go racing with. Simracing.gp takes all the hassle out of that. You sign up there and you can go and join your favourite community on your favourite platform as well. It takes all of the hassle, all of the stress out of joining. And also, if you're a league admin, my goodness mate, it makes it so much easier with its whole automated process. So head over to simracing.gp, get yourself joining up with your favourite community, and also for Moza Racing, relative newcomer to the wheel accessory market, but a fantastic offering of direct drive wheels. And I'm going to be honest, I am genuinely thinking that's going to be my upgrade from my competitor's belt driving wheel that your boy and his paltry little commentator's salary can afford right now.
Yeah, just let me know when you upgrade your.
Are you
sim
wanting that
rig,
one?
because-
Yeah, I'll
yeah.
have the Moza, and you can have whatever I've got left.
Yeah, perfect.
Actually, do you know what? Joking aside, I think I've still got my old Logitech Momo up in the loft from like way back in the day, from back in my Live for Speed day. I loved that little wheel so much. That was,
So
I mean, compared to nowadays, it's like absolute terrible. But yeah, it was a proper little wheel back in the day.
So this gives us a good tangent because I was going to talk about championship standings, but let's be honest, who cares about championship standings, right? When we've got this juicy information that I'm going to drop down. I'd like to know from yourself, David, and from everyone in Twitch chat, so feel free to get involved. What was the first sim racing wheel you ever used? Because for me, it was the Microsoft Sidewinder that I used to use on a game called Toka 2. Well, it was my dad's game, and when I was like 3 years old, he'd put me in a high chair, and I'd race in the game with that Sidewinder.
Can I just say that's parenting done absolutely right. That's exactly how you're supposed to bring up your kids. In a high chair, playing Toka 2, your dad automatically gets a seal of approval. Right, first wheel for me, right, and this is, unfortunately, Yousuf, this is going to show exactly how old I am. It was 1990, I want to say 1997 or 1998, and it was the Mad Catz wheel for the PlayStation, and it was the Jordan F1 branded one. So it was like green, black, and it was yellow, black, and green on it. And I used to play it on F1 97 for the PlayStation 1. That was my first ever I want to say sim racing wheel, because it was a decent wheel. But yeah, that was the one that got me started.
I've got a picture of this in front of me. That is a very odd-looking wheel. I dig it.
Listen, it was amazing because you'd sit in front. Because of course, back in those days, everything was on your proper TVs. It wasn't like flat screens like we've got nowadays.
Yeah, the good ones that take like half a minute to warm up, so that
oh
you
yeah, and were like twice as deep as they were wide. So yeah, that was my first experience.
Honestly, they were deeper than my current student debt.
Yeah, they were hefty, chunky boys. Right, qualifying is going on at the moment. We will come back to that in a second because they're all on their outlap anyway. So we've got a couple of minutes while they do that. But so yours was the Microsoft Sidewinder wheel. I vaguely remember that. Wasn't that one of the first ones that had like force feedback, I think, on it?
It did have force feedback on it. Yes, you are 100% correct, David. And it's one of the reasons why we never used it on Grand Prix 2, and we always used keyboard for Grand Prix 2, because you couldn't get the force feedback on a Sidewinder to work with the GP2 game.
Yeah,
Apparently.
I don't. Well, I don't think it was. I might be wrong, but I don't think it was compatible with force feedback. That's one of the issues with it. Because back in the day, of course, back in the day when I were lads, games, you would have to have specific support for. It's kind of like how consoles are now with racing games. You have to have like a specific wheel, but thankfully it's a fairly smaller market. But yeah, you'd have to have specific games written for specific wheels and specific drivers, and it was so much hassle back in the day.
Well, there's going to be a bit of hassle for Luke Whitehead. He is the first driver in our qualifying session to start a hot lap. So he's going to be setting the benchmark for everyone. And I'll be honest with you, David, if I was one of the drivers, I wouldn't want my benchmark to be set by Luke Whitehead, because he is a very quick driver, arguably the quickest driver here tonight.
Yeah, it's fairly formidable, but either way, Whitehead just coming through Curva del Rio, then this double right-hander, then through the left on the run up to the Chequered curve. It's a deep left-hander that doubles back on itself there, but it's way deeper than you actually think. You have to really try and go in early to nail that apex and get on the throttle as early as you possibly can. Coming up to the Tramonto curve, again another sweeping right-hander. Almost catches you off guard because you've got that sweep over to the right. It reminds me a lot of actually Sebring, that corner. But either way, it's then onto the long straight here. A bit of a right-hander here at Curvone, but you can just properly muller that in full throttle here. Again on the brakes down into the Del Caro curve. Again a nice tight right-hander then, and then onto this left-hander here. Final left-hander through the MISANO curve. And then you're going to be along to the start-finish straight. So again, a very quick lap here, but so many opportunities for the car to come undone. 133.5 and then a 133.3 by Gregor Schill. So immediately that time is kind of neutered, but it gives us an idea of what times we can expect here tonight.
And I tell you what, this is the mental game starting already from Gregor Schill, because Luke has been very confident in every single interview we've had post-race, where he's come in and said he has felt faster than BS+COMPETITION. And this is despite BS+COMPETITION beating out Yas Heat by GTWR as well. So coming in first qualifying lap, and Gregor Schill already putting over 2/10 between the pair of them is very impressive. And also, that is Carreca setting the identical lap time to Luke Whitehead. So Volante Racing showing that their performance last time out at Bathurst in Mount Panorama was no fluke.
Just saying that we've made it official. It's now an official straw poll going on. What should the broadcast team have for dinner? What are we thinking? The options here, Yousuf, are Mexican, Chinese, Korean, pizza, Italian, or Indian. Actually,
well, hang on. Why is pizza separated from Italian?
It's its own, it's his own genre. What can I say? I was away to say.
Where's English?
Sorry?
Where's English?
When you're going for a takeaway, Yousuf, I mean...
does it have to be a takeaway?
Well, I'm presuming
it
says here for dinner. I'm presuming it's takeaway, but the thing is, I'm pretty sure the market really isn't that big for... Although, to be fair, when you're going on holiday, usually it's, you ask for a cooked breakfast or whatever. But anyway, the point being, I was going to go for Chinese, but Mexican sounds good. Get some quesadillas on the go, some enchiladas, a wee bit of chimichanga. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah. I would like to qualify, by the way, me and Yousuf aren't included in this. We're kind of left by the sidelines to starve and watch the broadcast team eat.
Yeah. Also, Carreras has improved. Grantis Carreras now 1.6 down on Gregor Schill. Jaroslav Honzik up into P3. Sebastian Apostle up to P4. So Luke Whitehead, He just did the single lap. I saw him coming off the circuit. I believe it was out of turn 6. So I'm not sure if he had a moment and pulled off to the grass, or if he just didn't have enough fuel and wanted to come back into the pits. I believe the former, because if he didn't have enough fuel, I think he would have pulled off after Variante del Parco, and he would have come into the pits a little bit earlier.
Go and say that again. Just that pronunciation, mate. You absolutely nailed that.
So, for people who don't know, I'm half Italian, and David, I'm sure I'll be calling you out at some point for some of your pronunciation. You didn't know that?
I did not know that, Yousuf.
Yeah, I'm half Italian.
Oh, okay.
Which is one of the reasons
part?
why
Is
I
it the stroppy dramatic side?
Well, both sides, to be honest. It's the bad hair that I put down to the Italian side of me.
You have to be able to say A.
A?
A.
Hey, mamma mia. There you go.
Oh, that's made my night, Yousuf. That has made my night. Right, Valentin Barrier, where the hell did that come from? 132.8, 2 100ths of a second ahead of Gregor Schill. So it was looking very, very good for BS+ competition, but realistically, it's still not enough. I mean, they literally need that car to have a hardware failure tonight to still have any chance of actually having this championship.
Honestly, the Jardier community team, they have brought hats over, because that got pulled out of a hat. I don't know what hat they used, but it was a mighty impressive hat. That is an incredibly quick lap from Valentin Barrier into the 32s. We'll see whether any of the other teams can improve. Currently, Jardier community sitting in 6th place in the championship on 506 points. So they're 12 points behind Yas Heat Community, but they have to be careful because the Volante Racing number 2 car is just a couple of points behind 13, to be precise.
Yeah, certainly there's 7 minutes left to go in qualifying then. So Valentin Barrier ahead of Gregor Schill from Gergis Caracas, Jaroslav Honzig, Sebastian Apostle, Felix Deepers in 6th, Luke Whitehead in 7th. It's then Sidor in 8th position with Christopher Streppen in 9th, and then it's Scher down in 10th position. So with that now coming under halfway point then of the qualifying, I'm seeing yet again 10 drivers, or almost 10 drivers within 1 second of our pole time here. Again, we're talking a lot about the battle for the championship and the battle for the top step of the championship, but that battle for every other position outside of that is massive right now.
Absolutely. At the top of the championship, as you were mentioning, it's not particularly close. You're talking about 82 points between your top 2 drivers, and then it's a whopping 181 point gap down to Volante Racing. But after that, things start to get close. Volante Racing 607 points, West Competition Racing 571 points, and then a bit of a gap down to Yas Heat Community in 5th, who are on 518 points. But don't forget, Yas Heat Community did not race in the opening 2 races of the season, so they're making a late charge up the order. And with 2 races left to go, if Volante Racing and West Competition Racing don't have the best of outings, we could be seeing that community team potentially sitting in 3rd after our season finale at Silverstone next week.
Yeah, I mean, the long and the short of it is, from 5th place in the championship to 10th, there's something like 50 points, 55 or 56 points separating all of those teams there. Anything can and likely will happen with them, but the problem is that Volante Racing, it's been a bit of a late charge for them in terms of getting onto the podium. They've done really well this season. I mean, don't get me wrong in any way whatsoever, but the problem is that, you know, when we're looking at statistics, Yas Heat have traditionally have done better in the championship than they have in terms of the amount of podiums, but it's not been the consistency. That's the key thing with it. So very interested to see how this is going to pan out. I also would like to think that it's going to lead to more argy-bargy and a little bit more fisticuffs, but realistically, I think these guys are going to keep themselves very well sort of looked after with that regard. And
I also believe it's Ahmed Hosseini who's partnering with Luke Whitehead in the Yas Heat by GWTR car for tonight. So we won't be seeing George Boothby. He will hopefully be be back in the car for our finale at Silverstone. And let's not forget that Yas Heat by GTWR car has not won a race since the opening round at Monza, which feels like an absolute age ago. Sebastian Apostel is on a hot lap in the 31 West Competition Racing car. They're currently down in P6. They'll need to find at least a 10th if they want to jump up the order, and they do far more than that. They find a couple of 10ths, and they jump up to the second row of the grid, just 600ths down on Valentin Barriere.
That is a massive lap there for that number 31 machine to get up there. And in that BMW, yeah, they will be very, very happy with that. And the thing is that qualifying might as well be done and dusted, because your late laps now are going to have to be hero or zero. That's exactly where it's going to have to come from with it. And just watching that though, I was really, really surprised to see Apostle getting up there into third position. I shouldn't be, because the pace that they've shown this season has been absolutely relentless here. But yeah, like, what else do we think is going to be thrown here? Don't be surprised to see the likes of Christopher Streppen up into row 3 or a little bit higher than that. But here we're still on board with Lutz Motorsports. Felix Diepers here just coming through turns 1 and 2. And Felix, I mean, the thing Felix has to do as Caracas. Oh. Wow! Out of absolutely nowhere, Gergis Caracas in the number 14. Are you kidding me? Volante Racing, Grantis Caracas, excuse me, pole position out of absolutely nowhere. Where the hell did that come from?
Look, I told you that Volante Racing car brought a lot of hats along, because that's another hat that they pulled that lap time off. Forgive me for this one, David, but that was a correcting lap.
That silence says everything.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm going to allow it, actually. We are getting to the end of the championship. So, Yousuf, you have got an allowance of terrible puns. And to be fair,
how many do
you're
I
kind
get?
of underutilising that allowance right now. So I will let that one go in there. Like, that was an outrageous lap there from Grantis Caracas there in the number 14 Volante Racing number 1 machine. 132.750, lighting up the timing screens there. And we do have 10 cars within that 1 second. How important, Yousuf, do you think qualifying is actually going to be in the grand scheme of things?
I think qualifying is always important. While these aren't, the shortest of races, they aren't the longest of races either. And we've seen drivers struggling to get through. We've seen what can happen when one team defends against another. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of battling. This is so incredibly close. You talk about 1 second separating the top 11. Sod that, David. We're talking about a quarter of a second separating the top 6. This is the closest qualifying session we've had, at least whilst I've been on commentary duty. So I dare say over the whole season.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant catch there, Yousuf. With 6 drivers then, as you said, within quarter of a second right now. Looks like Felix Diepers is done and dusted in this in that 99 machine. We're still on board with the Yas Heat Community car of Jaroslav Honzig in the number 39 McLaren. That does have the potential to jump up a little bit here. It's all about these final 2 corners. What can Jardier do coming out of the final corner there? Gets a good run, very wide, and he absolutely batters it over the curb there. But crucially, he does get across the line, but that has compromised his exit speed out of that corner there. And yeah, that is going to be done and dusted. There is not going to be an improvement from Jardier on this lap here.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time, and his entry into turn 1 wasn't great either. So I think that's it for Jaroslav Honzik. We'll still have more laps though. Philip Diepers, Christoph Verstreppen, Wojtek Dvorak, the 789. They're all in the pits, so we're not going to be seeing any improvements from them. Maybe we could see Mr. Joe Scher from RevSport International finding an improvement. He's currently 1 second down of that lap time from Grantis Caracas, who currently has a provisional pole. And once he's crossed the line, then we're going to be having some of our more usual suspects. So Luke Whitehead will be the next car to cross the line. The 14 of Caracas has crossed the line and improved even further, David.
What? 132.6. Calm yourself down, Grantis. That is an outrageous lap there. So he's not been content with just sort of spanking that lap in to get pole position. He's come along. Luke Whitehead into second place. So the McLaren's having a real late charge here. What was looking so good for the BMWs now is turning into a day at the races here for the McLaren's here, as we're watching Valentin Barrier in the Jardier Community machine. Wow, I mean, what do we say with that? Into the final corner there, way too deep there. That's going to be a clip on the final corner. It's going to be across the line. What can Valentin Barrier do there? It's across the line, but it's not an improvement. So Grantis Caracas, pole position, 132.6. What say you, Yousuf, about that one?
I say prior to this race, we've had 3 teams who have been able to pick up pole positions and race wins. And with that, Caracas and Volante Racing will become our 4th team of the season to claim a pole position. The question is, can they go one step further and become our 4th team to take a race win as well?
Well, that's what we are going to see as the time starts to tick down for the drivers to make their final preparations. But it is the number 14, Volante Racing number 1, getting pole position there. Luke Whitehead in the number 75, Yas Heat GTWR in 2nd place on that front row of the grid. Then in 3rd place is going to be the 116 Jardier Community car with the number 89, BS+COMPETITION, your championship leaders, down in 4th position. Then 5th position is going to be the number 31 machine. That is the West Competition Racing machine that Sebastian Apostle got himself into a decent 5th place there for West Competition Racing. Then it's the 39 of Yas Heat Community down in 6th position. Felix Deepers got 7th position for the number 99 machine in that Lutz Motorsport outfit, and then it's Christopher Streppen in the 991 P2 Simsport in 8th position on row 4. Row 5 is going to be the number 70 car, and that is of course Riser Esports, and then it's the 789 beside them in 10th position, and of course the 789 car, I was trying to find them on the entry list there, but that is Casa Trash in the Ferrari that is going to be taking that one out as well. Just having a look here for 11th place then, that is the 199 Volante Racing number 2 outfit in 11th place. Then it's the 72 in 12th position. That's the Rev Sport International machine. Always see a little bit of support on the Twitch chat for Rev Sport. They've been a bit quiet tonight though, so make some noise. RNE Team Red are then in 13th position with the 28th machine just beside them in 14th position. 15th is going to be Pradol, who got that Writer Engineering Esports machine up there on row 8, and keeping him company is going to be the last minute competition machine of Zito in number 5, and at the back of the grid is the FSDR Slow Runners outfit in 17th position there. So that is all of the cars. Now, interested to see that we've got a Ferrari joining us on the grid, because I can't quite see a Ferrari on our team entry list there.
No, so it's a new team, that 789. It wasn't racing in any of the previous rounds, so it's their first time out. I think that's also might be why they've got the silver, the background to their racing number as well on your timing tower. So that might be the reason why. Let's not also forget as well, we've got a big battle for 7th in the championship. Sorry, I say 7th. I actually mean to say for 5th place, because Yas Heat Community are in 5th on 518 points. And then if you go all the way down to P9, which is Riser Esports, 481 points. So we're talking about 37 points separating 5 cars, and those 5 cars are all dotted around from Max Whitner in P3 all the way down to actually Ben McConnell in P13.
Certainly is. So a 90-minute race, our penultimate race of the season here for the GT Omega Challenger Cup. And we say a huge thank you to everyone that is watching wherever you might be. A huge thank you to everyone joining us on the Twitch channel and supporting their teams. We want to hear who you are here watching, whether that's a driver, whether that is a team or whatever. We want to hear about it, so drop all of your shout outs into chat and we will read whatever relevant, appropriate and safe for work ones that we fancy or feel like reading out. That's the joyous power that we have here in the commentary box. But Jonathan Riley in the car for Volante Racing Aztec, taking the cars round just now. 90-minute race. Realistically, the BMWs just have to finish, don't they, Yousuf? That's all they need to do. It's all the pressure is on Luke Whitehead and Amir Hosseini in that number 75.
Absolutely. But let's not forget, the BMWs are in the thick of the action. I think this might be the first time this season they're starting outside of the front row. Yes, they have to keep it clean, but this thing happens rather often in racing. You might understand this as well, David, as you've raced IRL in cars. Once you get into this situation and you think, oh, I'm going to take things easy, it's almost like the other drivers can sense that. They start driving more aggressive around you. And that's when I feel that more mistakes tend to happen. That's when you tend to be an unfortunate victim in incidents. So I would actually say don't try to take it easy. Just drive how you've been driving this entire season.
Yeah, that's literally all you can do. That's literally all the drivers can do. But it's going to be an early morning race. The time in the sim is 4:05 a.m. It's a very cold, brisk Italian morning here at MISANO, and we get ready to go for 90 minutes of racing for the second to last time this season with the GT Omega Challenger Cup. It's going to be Jonathan Riley for Volante leading the cars round that final corner. Look at Luke Whitehead. He is going with Riley every single step of the way. We wait for the green flag to fly. There it goes. Whitehead's got a cracking start. The two McLarens side by side going into turn one here. And this is going to obviously be very difficult. But there you go. Whitehead up the inside. And that is a position change for the lead already. And Riley doing, Whitehead for that Yas Heat team doing everything he needed to do.
And now it's Gregor Schill trying to hold it round the outside as they make their way into Rio, but he's actually got onto the marbles and that's compromised him. Now he's going to be coming under pressure from Jaroslav Honzik onto the back straight.
Certainly is. So this is on the run down then to Quercia Curve. It's still Luke Whitehead from Jonathan Riley right now, but that is late on the brakes as much as he can. Is going to be Gregor Schill, because as you said, that is going to be Jaroslav Honzik around the outside there. I don't think they got that move done here as we're watching the battle for second place here as cars left, right and centre here. You can just see the BS+ competition car, your championship leader, just in the background holding on to Christoph Verstappen. So Honzik has got that position done. But my goodness me, what a start to this race. And it's really starting to fan out already.
Yeah, so I don't think we've seen any significant changes. I think Jaroslav Honzik is defending from Felix Diepers, unless I'm very much mistaken, as in the background we've got two cars almost going side by side down into MISANO. But no real incidents, it's just Luke Whitehead who now leads. And this is the first time in the last few races where we've actually seen Luke Whitehead starting for the Yas Heat by GTWR car as well. And now that he is starting, he is absolutely making sure he makes the most of this opening stint for the team.
Well, that's exactly it. I think we're going to be having a little look at the first lap as well as the number 72 in pits for a drive-through then. Let's have a look here, and this is going to be contact a little bit further down. I believe, is that one of the Yas Heat McLarens as they try to go three wides down the straight there. That is going to be a move up the inside there. Well, it's an awkward accident there, Yousuf, but realistically, they've kind of asked for that themselves there.
Yeah, it's iffy. I think I'd personally need to have another look at it before I make any judgments, but it did look like it was practically a racing incident. We'll leave it for the stewards to decide who is at fault and who is not. But right now, Luke Whitehead has a very comfortable lead over Jonathan Riley, 1.3 seconds, and then we have this long train of cars all the way down to Jaroslav Honzik in P6.
So here we go then. Still, oh, that looks mega tight. A little bit of contact up the inside there. That looked like that was Jonathan Riley still fighting it out here with Valentin Barrier. Barrier gets the position done, and Riley gets sent packing a little bit further down there. You can see Sebastian Apostle trying to get involved in that, Gregor Schill trying to get involved in that, and that is allowing Luke Whitehead to absolutely streak away with this. 2.5 seconds up the road. What a move from Schill. Tries to go deep into turn 1 there, gets himself caught out a little bit there, and that is on Sebastian Apostle. This is allowed Jonathan Riley and Valentin Barrier to fight it out here as well, as Jaroslav Honzig
down the inside.
Exactly. What a move from Jardier. That is inspired driving.
And this is what we were saying before about Gregor Schill and the BS+ competition team, as it's not over yet. He's having a go at Yaroslav.
He's going to try and get it up the inside into courtesy curve here, and he's got it done, to be fair. Gets it stopped right on the apex. McLaren tries to run it round the outside here. It's going to be a right-hander here, and to be fair to Gregor Schill, still giving him the room here, as Jardier and Gregor Schill still fighting it out here tooth and nail. Excellent racing here. This is proper top-notch esports that we've got going on right now, as Jardier side by side with Gregor Schill. They have been for at least 4 corners now, and they're still side by side, 2 by 2 all the way around here. But surely that is going to have to be Jardier's corner. Gregor Schill forced out wide again. This is ridiculous right now. Jardier is going to have that position there, but that was one of the best bits of respectful sim racing I think I've seen this season.
Bravo, bravo, Yaroslav and Gregor. That was incredible. And as you mentioned as well, David, either of them could have said, this is my racing line, I can run you out. And technically, it wouldn't have been anything wrong. But they had the racing respect between each other to say, look, I'm going to give you room, so make sure you give me room when you're in the same situation. And that's exactly what they've done. But as a result, they've given a lot of room to Sebastian Apostle, who now has a 1.2 second lead over Yaroslav Honzig in P5.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult to undo as well, because that's all the way up to 1.5 seconds now that Apostle is with Riley up the road. But it's that gap between Luke Whitehead and Valentin Barrier that's not coming down, Yousuf. That's what's worrying me at this very early stage in the race.
Exactly. Fantastic start from Luke Whitehead. He got into the lead and then he drove off into the distance. There was a solid pass from Valentin Barrier on Jonathan Riley, but then when that happened, all of the cars behind, they got a little bit angsty, and it was Gregor Schill who thought he could use that as an opportunity to get past Sebastian Apostle. I think he tried to go round the outside into the final corner. It put him out of sorts, and it allowed Yaroslav Honzig to look down the inside into turn 1, and then we saw Gregor Schill trying to hold it around the outside of turn 1, getting onto the marbles, and then we had that huge whole lap of the pair of them being side by side.
Yeah, brilliant stuff nonetheless. But 7 minutes into this 90-minute race, and as the dust starts to settle on the order, it's still Luke Whitehead up in front in that number 75 machine, and doing a grand job for Yas Heat. GTWR, this is everything that he needed to do. As it stands right now, though, it is not enough, as this would secure the championship for BS+ competition, the way that things are on the track right now. Valentin Barrier for the 116 Jardier community team in that second place, and then it's Jonathan Riley in third position for Volante Racing, with our championship leaders, BS+ competition, all the way down in 6th position. But again, realistically, they just have to finish the race. They just have to get some points, and they have got this in the bag, so to speak. But we'll keep our eye on how this all unfolds. That gap at the front, Yousuf, building up now to 3.1 seconds.
Absolutely. There's nothing more that Luke Whitehead can do right now. I will just say, if the race finishes as it is, and then our race in Silverstone finishes in exactly the same way, Yas Heat by GTWR will win the championship. So this is good, because it's going to be 46 points, I think, that Luke Whitehead is currently taking out from Gregor Schill and BS+ competition's lead at the top of the championship. But there's nothing else that Luke Whitehead can do, and Yas Heat by GTWR, they just need to focus on this battle and maybe get Yaroslav Honzig to hold up Gregor Schill as much as possible.
I wouldn't say that's what they're going to do, but I'd certainly like to see it. I really want to see this championship go right down to the wire.
Let me phrase it in a politically correct way. Don't make it easy for Gregor Schill to get past Yaroslav Honzig.
Make your car as wide as a double-decker bus. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
I mean,
actually,
look, yeah.
Are double-decker buses that wide?
Not really, because it's something that I've said before, and then as soon as the words have left my mouth, and I'm like, well, actually, they're not really any bigger than like a lorry or a truck, are they?
Yeah. Like some sports cars, I think, might actually be wider as well with
Here,
how they're designed.
you leave my BMW M8 GTE out of this.
Where's my invite to come up to Scotland so I can get a ride in your M8 David? Come on, I thought we were friends.
Well, you know, you should be able to see it from down there in England. The thing's so bleeding massive. It's I see when that came out, I loved all the memes about the size of that car. It was like the one favourite I've got is from Daytona, where it's like you see all these like little Porsches and just this huge big looming M8 in the background. Yeah, that thing was a chunkster.
Well, a little bit like the old jokes that myself and you and O'Leary used to have about the Bentley, or the Boatley as we endearingly called it. The gap at the front, nearly 4 seconds between Luke Whitehead and Valentin Barrier, but Gregor Schill is sticking with Jaroslav Honzik. Don't forget that these two lost a lot of times to Sebastian Apostel, and they're slowly starting to reel back into this Group 4 second. So I don't think Gregor Schill is going to be pressuring Jaroslav Honzik too much right now. He just wants to stick with Jaroslav and follow Jaroslav up to the back end of this train.
Yeah, but the other thing is for many of our viewers who might be watching thinking, oh, 4 seconds, that's it, the race is done and dusted. How many times have we seen, not just in Bathurst, but at Nürburgring as well, the leader make an unforced error all out by themselves, and then that completely turns the race on its head here. As we're seeing Jaroslav Honzik under some huge pressure, excuse me, not Jaroslav Honzik,
Jonathan
we're
Riley.
seeing, yeah, Jonathan Riley from Sebastian Apostel here.
Yep, the 14 against the 31. In terms of the championship, the 14 of Volante Racing are currently sitting third in the championship with 607 points. Meanwhile, the 31 is that of Sebastian Apostel and West Competition Racing, currently fourth in the championship, a further 36 points down the road. You talked about what we've seen in previous races, but I want to talk about something that we know is going to happen, and that is pit stops, because we have seen the BMWs gaining about 4 seconds in pit stops over pretty much the last 2 races, and we spoke to Luke Whitehead about this at the end of the Bathurst race, and he said that he doesn't understand it because they shouldn't be that much quicker over a pit stop, but we are seeing it time and time again that the BMWs are gaining this time. So when you think about that pit stop, we could be seeing the likes of Sebastian Apostel and Gregor Schill really jumping up this order, and maybe it will be the BMW in, let's say, 2nd and 4th.
Just noticing there in the background actually is Sebastian Apostel there having a little bit of a wobble coming out of that in fact, sorry, Jonathan Riley having a bit of a wobble coming out of that final corner there, and that's allowing Apostel right to close right back up on the back end of that one. The thing with the pit stops as well is that that's well and truly within the boundaries of Barrier getting a move down on Luke Whitehead. If they lose that 4 seconds, I don't think it's going to be that pronounced this race here, but yeah, stranger things have definitely happened, but I'm also noticing that gap at the front, Yousuf, starting to stabilise at that 4 seconds now, and that also means that you've got basically 1st to 6th place separated by about 7 seconds here. That really does throw everything right wide open at such an early stage of the race here.
Yeah, if you ignore that gap at the front, it is very close. And don't forget, it looked like Valentin Barrier was so much quicker than Jonathan Riley in the first few laps. But now that the Porsche has actually found a way through on the McLaren, it's really struggling to pull away from that teal and black McLaren of Volante Racing.
Certainly looking that way right now, as we got another yellow flag very, very briefly. It's immediately brought back in there.
That was Guido Zito in the Aston Martin.
I think you're absolutely spot on with that one. The problem with this right now is that we're at the stage of the race where none of these drivers want to push their luck too far. They're quite happy staying within this opening group, but to try and make a move right now, you know, you're really throwing yourself to be quite vulnerable, because if that doesn't work, then you've got maybe 2-3 other cars that are going to try and immediately, and I do mean immediately, snap onto that opportunity. However, if you're not in this group of 2nd to 6th place right now, as Barry actually getting caught right back up now by Jonathan Riley here, If you're not in this top 6 group, I would say you're pushing like hell. You're throwing everything you possibly can to try and get back up with this group. But realistically, I mean, look who's back there in at 7th position, Felix Diepers, who is 4.6 seconds back in the middle of no man's land right now, because he's also 6 seconds ahead of Sidor in 8th place.
Absolutely, as that is Lucas Sidor, who is now having a move, I believe. No, it's Yuri Valik, who is on his inside in the second Volante Racing car as they make their way into the double right hand of Tramonto, and the McLaren moves up into P8.
Great job there, and that was a fantastic job from our production team to catch onto that one there, as the McLaren is going to try and just head off into the sunset there, getting past Felix Diepers there. But this is back with Valentin Barry, and look at the closing speed that Jonathan Riley there has for Volante Racing. Amazing, amazing closing speed. He's so much later on the brakes in that McLaren, and I guess that's where the McLaren really able to make a lot of its speed here at MISANO. The thing with MISANO as well is the fact that, you know, it's such a circuit that requires flow and requires the car to be in what I would normally say to be in a compliant mood. You want to be smooth and gentle with the car, because it's not one of those tracks that you want to just try and drag the car around. It's not like Bathurst where, you know, you really just have to drag the thing around kicking and screaming. This is one that you want to be smooth, because smoothness is speed when it comes to sort of keeping the momentum up here.
And when you are at Bathurst, especially when you're looking at the tight and twisty section, as well as Jonathan Riley has all of a sudden lost a whole bunch of speed. He's dropped to 7/10 behind Valentin Barrier, and now Sebastian Apostel in the other BMW is all over his rear end. So that is absolutely bizarre, I feel.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mistake. I'd imagine it's actually coming into the second half of the circuit. That's going to be a move up the inside. Saw that contact a mile off, and unfortunately, that is going to be Sebastian Apostel. Listen, man,
you called it.
It's exactly what I said. If you're going to make a move, you better be sure that it's going to happen. Otherwise, for me, that move, he's entitled to try and make the move, but that whole, like, looking after yourself, I don't really think the move was kind of on there. But hey, look, it is what it is. He's cost himself a hell of a lot of time there, and he'll have to kind of pick up the pieces and get his way back through there. He's been thrown into the clutches of Felix Diepers, and in fact, what's happened to Lucas Sidor? Sidor tried to make the move there, and oh, sorry, that was Sidor and Valik. I was getting myself mixed up there, but well, yeah, that's going to be an F in chat for sure.
Okay, this isn't over though for Sebastian Apostel. He's 3.8 seconds behind the rear end of Gregor Schill, so he can close in, and we've seen these guys holding each other up so far. It's just a shame, especially if you're a neutral watching this for the championship, because it means that Luke Whitehead will be chipping away at the deficit that Yas Heat by GTWR have to BS+ competition. So the championship won't quite be as close coming out of the Silverstone race, but you can still see in the top of your shot Sebastian Apostel and Felix Diepers making their way onto the back straight into Corvone, but it is still a large gap that they're going to have to get to. Jonathan Riley 1.6 seconds behind Valentin Barrier now.
Just noticing that gap starting to come down very slightly. So maybe now that Barry has been released from the panic of having a fight with Riley and Honzik, he's able to concentrate now on the gap in front. It was 3.9 seconds, but it could be Luke Whitehead. We've seen him do this before. Luke Whitehead just managing the gap, as that's a little bit of a menacing look up the inside there from Gregor Schill. Not going to make anything of it just at this lap, but it could be a case of trying to put Honzik off right now and trying to distract him so he can try and take that position back.
And don't forget, right now Gregor Schill is in the best position of these guys, because as you talked about before, if you go for a move, you'll all of a sudden have someone at your heels snapping for a position. But Gregor Schill isn't in that scenario. He can go for a move as he likes, because he does not have Sebastian Apostel on his rear searching for a way through. He's got a 4.3 second buffer, and even if these two take off some time from each other, they'll close back in onto Jonathan Riley regardless. But for that number 14 Volante Racing car, I think we've got a lot left to see from them, because don't forget, it is Grantas Carecas who will be jumping into that car after the pit stop, and we know how good his pace was as we see a battle for P9.
Yeah, that looks like a Ferrari trying to go the long way round. Yuri Valek there. We'll keep our eyes on that and make sure that is actually the case there. But if so, I mean, that is a heck of a move from that Ferrari right now. In fact, I think that was actually, yeah, it was. So that was round the outside of Valek there. So, well, I honestly, I'm a little bit speechless around that one, because we obviously just caught the tail end of it, but that looked like a ballsy move by the Ferrari to make that happen there. And the thing is that when you have a move like that pulled on you, Yousuf, you're absolutely furious. You are raging to try and get that position back and kind of undo the little bit of one-upsmanship that's just happened there.
I want to have a replay of that if we can, because I think it was actually Yuri Valek who tried to hold it around the outside. So I think Kasitarash had the position, and then Valek tried to break really late on the outside, but was unable to defend the position. So maybe I'm wrong and it was the other way around, but I would like to catch that again, and more specifically how they ended up in that situation, because I would assume that Yuri Valek made a mistake in the previous corner, which is Quercia or Quercia, and would have them being compromised on the exit.
Yeah, that could have been. I saw it a different way. I was sure it was the Ferrari that was on the outside, but we'll double check anyway. In no uncertain terms anyway, this is Christopher Streppen in the Bentley trying to hold off. In fact, actually, I think that was just getting the position from Pradol in the 724. So Verstappen, it looks like, up into 11th place there. So the Bentley starting to come good now, but again, a fair away off of the rest of the battling group here. So indeed, there you go, confirmation. Christopher Strepp up into the 11th position right now. This is back for the battle for third position though. Jonathan Riley ahead of Jaroslav Honzik, ahead of Gregor Schill, and Schill doing everything he needs to do right now. He just needs to keep calm and look for this fight to get a little bit tasty in front of him and pick up any extra positions that he can, because Riley doing a great job of holding on to that position, but Honzik, I think, getting a little bit frustrated trying to get past here.
And don't forget, for Jaroslav Honzik and for that Yas Heat Community car, it's not just about keeping Gregor Schill behind and helping out the GWTR car. They also want to be climbing up the championship, because they're currently sitting in 5th, but they do have a realistic chance of taking P3. They're less than 100 points down, as we see Max Prodol picking up a drive-through time penalty down in P12, and that's after he had just found a way through on Ben McConnell, I think.
It's getting so perilously close, isn't it? Is Honzig to the back end of Jonathan Riley right now. This is allowing Valentin Barry to stretch up the road there, but again, that gap starting to eke out a little bit to Luke Whitehead just in front, 4.2 seconds now, and I think that's going to be it until the pit stops come in. You see the 724 Porsche of Pradol getting a drive-through penalty. That's going to be an automatically assigned one, I would imagine, based on track limits. From what I see, certainly we haven't seen any massive contact with Pradol there, so I would imagine that is going to be an automated penalty there. An hour and 10 minutes left to go in the penultimate race of the season then. Yousuf, is this going how you thought it would?
Oh, absolutely not. I didn't expect Gregor Schill and BS+ Competition Racing to be down in P5, arguably in P6 if it wasn't for that incident between Sebastian Apostel and Jaroslav Honzik. Speaking of Gregor Schill, he's all over the back of Jaroslav, has a little think of the inside. But Jonathan Riley right now, I tell you what, that McLaren, it's looking very weak towards the latter stage of the braking zone. And I'm just wondering if Jonathan Riley isn't really feeling confident in that front end of the car and not confident to turn in with as much speed, because you'll just see how much the other two close in once you really get towards the apex. And I think the big point where you see that is through turns 12, 13 and 14 at the top end of the circuit.
And yeah, that throws up a lot more questions, I think, than it actually answers right now, but either way, that's exactly what we are here for. In this penultimate race in the GT Omega Challengers Cup, it's Dave Christie and Yousuf Bin-Suhayl bringing you live coverage of the second to last race here from the virtual recreation of MISANO. As it stands then, Yas Heat GTWR in the lead with Luke Whitehead ahead of the number 116 of Valentin Barrier, and then it is Jonathan Riley in the Volante Racing number 1 McLaren ahead of Jardier in the number 39 McLaren. Gregor Schill for your championship leaders, BS+COMPETITION in 5th place with the 31 of Sebastian Apostle in the BMW in 6th position right now. This battle here is starting to get a little bit feisty because at the moment Honzig is trying so desperately hard to get ahead of Jonathan Riley right now, and Gregor Schill is waiting very, very patiently, but I think the patience, Yousuf, is going to start running out in the next 5 minutes or so.
I think the patience has already started to run out for Jaroslav Honzig. It definitely has for Gregor Schill. Did he see him just trying to have a little look up the inside of Jaroslav Honzig into turn 2? He's hoping that Jaroslav Honzig tries to get a cutback coming out of a corner, tries to get the switchback, and then that'll allow Gregor Schill to dive down the inside and say, no cutback for you, because my car is on your inside. Keep an eye on that gap to Sebastian Apostle. It's already down to 3.8 seconds as Jonathan Riley starts to drive more defensive. Valentin Barrier in P2 has extended his lead to Riley to now over 3 seconds.
Yeah, brilliant job nonetheless. And the problem is that as these little battles go on, those two cars are going to kind of stretch away right now. We wondered if Valentin Barrier was going to be able to bring the gap down to Luke Whitehead, but it's not really panning out right now. We've got 724 of Pradol in pit lane, and I think that car is done, toast and dusted. So I'm presuming he got a drive through for going off track. That might have been heavy contact with one of the barriers, and they've just decided to bin that car. You can see it in pit lane right now, 2 laps right down, and yeah, that car is looking like it is done and dusted as Prescott brings the McLaren 323 out of a yellow flag there as well. But just over an hour left to go here in the penultimate race of the championship, and again BS+COMPETITION doing everything they need to do.
Yeah, and it's not been a great race from BS+COMPETITION, let's be honest. Okay, they're doing what they need to win the championship, but this is a team that has finished first and second in every single race, and part of me is a bit sad, will be a bit heartbroken if they can't keep that going to the very end of the championship, because I feel like we're going to be in a situation where BS+COMPETITION can't keep that run going, and they're still going to be ludicrously far ahead of the 75, the Yas Heat by GWTR car, going into the final race of the season. But then again, over my time commentating in sim racing, I've seen crazier things. As that's Yuri Valik coming under pressure from Christopher Streppen, who's now looking down the inside into the double right-hander. Yuri Valik will leave some space. Will there be contact? No, not quite.
Just that short, sharp inhalation of breath there while we're all trying to figure out what on earth is going to go on there. But Verstappen, yeah, getting that moved on, getting that 10th position there from Yuri Valik. And yeah, Riser Esports Porsche having to move down as well. And of course, Porsche being a little bit of a subject of the news today with their announcement today. Yousuf, I don't know if you caught it, that they're launching their very own Works esports team in association with Coanda there. So again, not massively relevant to tonight's race, but yet another step forward for sim racing in the grand scheme of things.
It's absolutely fantastic to be able to see a car manufacturer having a Works esports team alongside having, you know, various racing teams across Le Mans and certainly other endurance series and probably sprint series as well. You know, you've got the Porsche GT Cup or the Carrera Cup, which is dotted around in England. I think it's the Porsche Cup that is part of the British Touring Car Championship circus, where I used to like to watch a driver who, oh my god, his name, Harry King. I don't know if you've ever caught Harry King racing.
Oh, Harry King is just
one
of the most outrageously talented Porsche drivers I think I've ever seen in my life. What he can do with a Porsche is, or what he can't do rather, isn't worth describing.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. For those people who don't know, the Porsche Cup in the UK was relatively competitive, I want to say. And then 2 years ago, Harry King shows up, and he proceeded to practically win every single race, including every single reverse grid race, driving like an absolute lunatic. And then we saw some of the old guns, the likes of Dan Camish, one of, I think it's a Formula 4 winner, previous Formula 4 winner or Formula 3 winner joining in as well. And they had a fantastic battle, but I believe they changed some of the regulations regarding how much camber you could have, which didn't suit Harry King fantastically well for that season.
Reminds me of Assetto Corsa and the whole toe-in/toe-out gate. It's, I think we'll maybe stay clear of that one. As our race leader already passed some lap traffic there, that is the 116 just coming up to the number 323 of Prescott and the McLaren as well then. So we're barely half an hour into the race and we're already starting to lap some cars here, Yousuf.
Yeah, we saw the 323 having that mistake. We've seen the 724 that was in the pits. It's still in the pits, so they're done with their race. But yeah, Prescott having already been lapped, they had an incident, I believe, coming out of turn 6. One of the easiest corners here at MISANO to make a mistake from, because you're going practically flat. The car is already a little bit unsettled because you're dragging it in, and there he goes once again. Big mistake, but this time it is... how has he done that there?
That's that's quite impressive. Well done. Bonus points for 323 for a rather confusing incident there. I mean, you know, he's just wanting to fall with style.
And we've got clarification in the chat that apparently the 724, that's Maximilian Prodol, had I'm completely botching up that name. I can't do German pronunciation, so I do apologize. They had a wheel disconnect and they couldn't get it back, so they have decided to pull out of the race. A big shame for them. I think they were running in P13 or something before that incident.
Oof, that is an F, as we would say, as us cool kids would say. I think we've got, though, Yousuf, a replay of what happened with that 323 there then. So our production team here at GT Omega absolutely on the ball here. A little bit too much of the curb. Is it going to be onto the braking zone? He's just lost the rear end of it. That is actually a lot more common than you would think.
Yeah, so the rear end just gets a little bit light as he's going into turn 13, which is when you really start to slow the car down through that quadruple right-hander, because turns 11 and 12 are completely flat. So heading into 13, he's trying to slow it down. The rear end's got light, and he just tries to make a correction. And because the rear end is light, it then just snaps on it.
Oh man, that is not what you want to see there. But either way, we go back to live coverage then, and this is still the battle for third, fourth, and fifth. And actually, fastest man on track there, Yousuf, is Gregor Schill in that BMW behind. He's flashing the lights. He wants to get past Jaroslav Honzig, and this might be his best chance to do it.
Absolutely, and he's just hoping, waiting for an opportunity. Again, he's going to have a little look down the inside. He's going late on the brakes. He's forced to go on to the sausage curbs, and it just spits him out.
That's an oof. that's a big oof right there for Gregor Schill. And the thing is like he can have a little bit of fun with this race as well, because he knows that, you know, all he has to do is finish in the top 10 to essentially win the championship tonight. The thing with it, though, is that, you know, he's doing a really, really good job. He's a racing driver. He races
David,
forward.
I'm just going to correct you on that, because
yes,
we still have Silverstone after this race. So, Gregor, BS+ Competition can only win the championship if they win the race, and Luke Whitehead effectively finishes in, like, P8, I want to say.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, I mean, obviously mathematically there's still a chance, but given the way that this season has gone, I just don't see it being a
if
possibility.
Luke Whitehead wins and Gregor Schill finishes in about 10th, we'll be talking about 30 points between the pair of them going into the final race. And I'd say that's a realistic chance, especially considering how close everyone has been here at MISANO.
Well, it's listen, speculation has never been my strongest point, so I'm possibly going to stay very, very quiet on that one, Yousuf, before I end up saying something that I regret next week out. I did that in real life once, actually, right? I used to do commentary for Knock Hill, and I did the bike racing up there, and I had my little super eager. I was brand new. It was my first year, and had like a little spreadsheet and everything like that, and I was working it all out. And I'd said, oh well, you know, by my calculations, that's it. He's done it. He's not going to get caught. What I didn't know is that they still had races to go at a completely different championship, and yeah, I felt really, really bad that never mind. So yeah, I'm not going to say anything.
Well, I'm sure you'll have plenty of stuff to say because we're going to be getting a lot more battling. And is it just me, David, or I was feeling a bit sleepy before, but now I'm really starting to wake up because the light is coming out.
Yousuf, how could you feel sleepy? Oh my goodness me, that's Cassatarash, and that looks like that's going to be, is that a Porsche off in the background?
Porsche, yeah, that
was Valak.
So what has happened to the pair of them? That is one of them getting a good exit out of Variante del Parco and trying to go down the inside into Rio, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that is... that's not the best, I'm sure. Oh my goodness me, that's a huge move on the inside. What?
He let him through.
Just fired past Jonathan Riley like he wasn't even standing still. What was that?
He used the star icon in Mario Kart there.
Yeah, that was a total blue shell moment.
No, so blue shell is where you destroy another car.
Well, I think it's same result, isn't it? You know, he's gone flying back because we've got a replay here.
Right, hopefully when
so this is going to be the contact with the Ferrari and the Porsche, I want to say. So here is the Porsche. Oh, and the Ferrari's just recovering, and that is.
That's both of them because the Ferrari's coming.
How is that both of them, you said? Right, okay, I'm gonna politely disagree. The Ferrari has obviously had an incident, is keeping himself as far off the track as he possibly can, and the Porsche sees the Ferrari and thinks, I'm gonna go and take this corner at full speed, and clatters into him.
So I think the Ferrari comes onto the track too aggressively. The Porsche lets the car out and he could have held it tighter, but I think the Ferrari, he comes more than halfway over the track and effectively comes onto the racing line from being at standstill. So that's why I think both of them. Like for me, that's a slap on the hand for both of them. Like, you guys are silly, but you both killed yourself, so I don't give you a penalty. But I actually want to say it's more the Ferrari's fault for coming back onto the racing line. But we'll see what the stewards have to say because they get to see it a number of times, and they get all the angles at their disposal as well.
So 54 minutes left to go. Yousuf, when do you think we're going to start seeing the first pit stops, or the pit stops of the race then? Because obviously we got them quite early at Bathurst, but do you think the drivers maybe going to be trying to stretch this out as much as they can?
So I think it depends on which teams we're talking about. I think one of the things to remember as well is that because we are getting out of nighttime, the track temperature is going to be increasing. So I think if you base it off that, you're probably going to expect the teams to stay out for longer so that once they make their pit stop, they can change their tire pressures to suit whatever the track temperature will be for the final portion of the race. But then I look over to the likes of Jonathan Riley, and I remember that's Grantas Carecas, who is his teammate, as we see Jonathan Riley going defensive down into the hairpin.
Oh, that's looking very, very sketchy, isn't it? Oh, it's so close with Gregor Schill almost getting that wheel alongside, but the McLaren just able to get that going round. Schill going to try and go round the outside, but it's not
this exit
going
speed's
to
going to be
happen here.
insane.
Yeah, the McLaren's got it. I think the BMW has a lot of grunt, but nah, it's a great job, and Schill's going to be left wanting, I think, with still 52 minutes left to go. But I've got to be honest, look at Luke Whitehead in the 75. Absolutely storming away with this. 5 seconds up the road here.
Every race, or the last 2 races, which have been the race that I've been commentating on, Luke Whitehead has shown phenomenal pace during his stint. And both times in the interview, you can kind of sense the frustration that he's had having to pick up the car from a very difficult situation. And last week out, it was Essa who had some issues where the setup wasn't working for him bizarrely. And, you know, Luke's been saying that he's quick, he's quicker than the guys ahead, and now he's had his opportunity to shine. He wasn't able to qualify on pole, he qualified on the front row, but the race itself has been absolutely perfect from him.
Yeah, it's been an epic start to this race here, and everything you wanted from this potentially championship deciding race. It all hinges on these next 50 minutes. Of course, still might mathematically be possible for Silverstone, but realistically, as it stands right now, I mean, I think again, I have to work out all the calculations here, but surely BS+ competition have to be in a very strong position. What you can be sure of, though, is Yas Heat GTWR are doing everything they possibly can to put themselves in the best possible position here, Yousuf.
Absolutely. 51 minutes remaining. I think we might be starting to see some pit stops soon, especially for that 14 car, Grantis Caracas. Insanely quick in qualifying. Obviously, we don't know whether he has race pace to match that incredible qualifying pace that got the 14 Volante Racing car their first pole of the season. I'm also keeping my eyes on that temperature. It's currently at 16 degrees Celsius, as it has been for the entire race. But as we get further and further into this stint, further and further into the race, I'm expecting the sun to be coming out a bit more and that temperature to be rising. We might even hit the likes of 19, 20 degrees come the end of the race if we're lucky.
Well, let's keep an eye on that one. As it stands, Luke Whitehead 6 seconds ahead, or sorry, 5.6 seconds ahead of Valentin Barrier. Jaroslav Honzek is 3.5 seconds behind them. Jonathan Riley 1.2 seconds here, but you can see having his rear mirrors absolutely filled of that McLaren right now with Gregor Schill. Now, Yousuf, just talking strategy-wise, is there a case here for Gregor Schill actually going into the pit first to try the undercut?
I'd say no, just because I think we've established from the previous couple of races the fact that the BMW somehow is faster in the pit stop phase than the McLaren. So I think even if they pit on the same lap, I think Gregor Schill would come out ahead of Jonathan Riley. I think that stop will be a bit shorter. I think Gregor Schill needs to make sure that he gets ahead of Jaroslav Honzek. I think that's his real rival right now. So he wants to be pitting maybe a lap before or so, let his teammate jump into the car and then try to get the undercut or overcut, whatever it is, on to that 39 Yas Heat Community car.
Well, let's certainly see what actually happens here. 49 minutes left to go, though, and man, this is such a tease, this little battle right now, is it, with Gregor Schill and Jonathan Riley? It's like, will they, won't they? And it's Jonathan Riley actually that goes into the pits first then. So that is, wow, okay, there you go, into the pits then. So I guess we're robbed of that little battle, but Gregor Schill moves up by de facto up to 4th place and can start chasing down Jaroslav Honzek.
Absolutely, and now that Gregor Schill has some clean air, let's see if he can go any quicker. He got the fastest lap of the race ages and ages ago, but now he's got a 2.2 second gap to try to close in onto the McLaren, and this is the best situation possible for the BS+ competition car, because now all of a sudden that 3rd place finish is looking a lot more likely, maybe even P2. The gap between Valentin Barrier and Jaroslav Honzek currently at 3.2 seconds, but I think it has been decreasing over the last few laps, as that is a Luke Whitehead who currently leads for the Yas Heat by GTWR car. Let's see if he comes into the pits at the end of this lap. At the moment, he's on the back straight, making his way into Corvona.
Well, that's what we're watching just now. But Gregor Schill currently fastest man on the track then, bringing that gap down to Jardier by about, well, no, it's going back up again now. So immediately as we're seeing that and trying to extrapolate exactly how this race is going to pan out, Gregor Schill will be coming in, though, to hand over that car. And, of course, teammates with him tonight in that 89. It's going to be so important, you'd think, for Angus Fender to get up to speed with that car. And in fact, there comes Gregor Schill into the pits to hand things over to Angus. Angus really has an unenviable task, jumping into the car and pushing it absolutely for what it's worth at such a, you know, he has to get on it from lap 1.
And this is the thing right now for BS+ competition. They've not been in a situation where they've been this much under pressure in a long time. They've usually been at the front and things have, I want to almost say, fallen their way a bit. that wasn't exactly the case at Nürburgring, where they had that battle with the Yas Heat Community car, where the pair of them made mistakes. But now that they are in, I want to say, a bit more of a high-pressure scenario, I'm interested to see how they will respond. We saw Gregor Schill able to stay out of trouble and just keep his head down and his nose clean. Let's see whether Angus Fender can do the same. And more importantly, let's see where Angus Fender comes out relative to the 14 of Grantas Carecas, who is down in P14 currently.
Well, I think that's him just starting to come out of pit lane just now. The number 5
it's a
goes
long
past
pit exit, though.
Zito. Yeah, so that has been a not too bad, actually. Yeah, so the 14 just coming over the start-finish line now, and the 89 is going to pull out into the track here. Yeah, I think this is going to be too close to call. But ultimately, it's going to be, great move there then from Angus Fender to get back out well ahead. You've got to say the number 14 there and the number 199. In fact, the 199 has already pitted. In fact, sorry, they're just coming out of the pits now. But yeah, that's job done over Caracas.
Yeah, fantastic stuff as well. And it's what we were talking about the BMW can gain so much time during the pit stop phase. So right now we're talking about 2 seconds. Angus Fender is ahead of Grantas Carecas. And before it was the 89, it was about half a second behind. So they've gained 2.5 seconds, and that's excluding pace difference in the outlap versus the inlap.
Yeah, there we go then. So pit stops well and truly in the go here. Valentin Barrier into the pits, Jaroslav Honzig into the pits, Luke Whitehead staying out, and number 75, Sebastian Apostle staying out, as is Felix Diepers. But, well, talking of Diepers, the plot and the storyline is getting deeper right now with 45 minutes left to go. This is far too close to call here, Yousuf.
That absolutely is very close. Half the race still remaining. 45 minutes of what started off as a 1.5 hour race. Valentin Barrier, Jaroslav Honzik into the pit. Where is Angus Fender right now? He's making his way down into turn 1. Let's see how close it is.
Here we go then, as Angus Fender in the BS+ competition machine. The thing is that the 14, if I'm not mistaken, has actually got a lapped car in front. In fact, that's not a lapped car, that's a share in the 72. That is for position, because, you know, they've not pitted yet. So that's all that is. So Caracas can, well, obviously the number 14 car of Grantas Caracas can flash the lights all they want, but it doesn't mean a thing. It's for position. Joe Scheer, absolutely no inclination or doesn't have to move whatsoever.
Absolutely, and it's been good so far from Caracas. He put it on pole, but now he's got to do it on track in a race environment. That being said, Angus Fender isn't really pulling away right now, and to be fair, the 89 of BS+ competition didn't gain much time on to the 39 Yas Heat Community car, which is currently being piloted by Statsenko. I would attempt to say the first name, but I'm not sure what it is, so I'm just going to have a double check on my notes for that one.
Well, while you do that then, we're currently looking towards the tail end of this race. And just like the GT Mega Challenger Cup Championship, this is now starting to draw to its final conclusions here. We've got 43 minutes left to go in the race, in the penultimate race of the championship. Felix Diepers into pit lane, comes out of pit lane. He's going to drop all the way further down the order as well. You were talking about the gap between Mikhail Statsenko and Angus Fender. That has actually come down a little bit, if I'm reading rightly. 2.3 seconds behind Mikhail Statsenko, and that gap, if I remember rightly, was about 3.84 seconds just before, and remember, it was also behind the number 14, so we'll have to wait and watch and see exactly how this all pans out here. But this is fascinating stuff. All the meanwhile, Luke Whitehead at the lead of this race now is streaking away with this. The problem is, how is it going to pan out in the pit stops? Pit stops have been their kryptonite so far this season, and you would hate to see it if anything happens there.
Just before I go on to that pit stop point, Caracas has found a way through up into P8. He actually did that down into turn 1, I'm fairly certain. So now he's 1.7 seconds behind Angus Fender. and he can try to wheel in that BMW driver. Volante Racing will be eager for another good position as they are currently in, I would say, a tense battle. There's 36 points between themselves and West Competition Racing. But West Competition Racing has had a slightly better mid-part of the season than Volante Racing did, especially when you remember that West Competition Racing, they're currently sitting 4th in the championship, but they actually missed out on the first race of the season.
We've seen that a couple of times with teams this season. You know, we saw that late charge in, and was it not was the Yas Heat teams, or it was the Jardier team that came in late, and if it wasn't for that, they would have had an amazing performance. But talking of which, Luke Whitehead into pit lane, Christopher Streppen into pit lane. Now, this is what we need to keep an eye on here, because your race leader for GTWR R8G Academy didn't have that much of a lead. Yes, it was about 5 seconds, but I mean, that can all change very, very quickly. But Whitehead's into the pits. He's going to be handing over that Yas Heat GTWR car to Amir Hosseini. And this is what we're watching for now. So we're watching for the number 89 and the number 39. And realistically, I mean, they are a long, long way back. I'm just getting an idea on where exactly they are on the circuit here. I think they're actually down into Carvone.
Yeah, it's 39 of Statsenko who will be in P2 once all of the pit stops are done. Mikhail Statsenko for the Yas Heat Community car. Got a gap of 3.6 seconds to Angus Fender, so I think that gap has come down. But look at Grantas Carecas. He is closing in massively. Now less than a second, as is Ahmed Hosseini taking over from Luke Whitehead on the pit lane exit. He should come out well clear of Statsenko. And there we go. He can take off the pit limiter and head on out to the circuit.
Yeah, that's going to be, what, about 6 seconds, I would imagine, ahead of that number 39 car, which is a couple of cars down behind this. But remember, cold tyres, so this is going to be a very... Is that the 323 off to the side again? I think it's just like, please don't hit me, not in the face. I don't want anything to do with this. That's exactly what the difference is here. Now, of course, the one thing I have completely forgotten about here is, of course, that 116 of Jardier Community. Jardier Community, this is for the fight here. So that gap is massively down then, because that gap, remember, was about 6 seconds, and now it's down to 2.1. So yet again, they've lost even more time through pit stops.
Now, what does Max Voigtner have under his belt? Can he close in that gap as Angus Fender has been passed by Grantas Carecas?
Yeah, Grantas has got past him there, so we didn't see that happening. But Grantas Carecas has got done, and poor Angus Fender, despite all that effort there, yeah, that's not worked out too well there for them at all, has it?
He's done that move so quickly. I'm just saying, if Carecas gets a podium for that 14 Volante Racing car, he is my driver of the day, hands down. It's not even close.
Yeah,
sorry, Luke, but
no, I absolutely agree with you. I think that's a really good shout. Do you know what is an even better shout is the fact that gap for Amir Hosseini and Max Voigtner was 2.1 seconds. It's now 1.6. What is going on in this final part of the race? This could be pivotal for the championship, because Hosseini and that 75, they need the full points.
Absolutely, they need to get as many points as they can get. For the 116, though, for Jardier Community, it would be, I guess, a chance, an opportunity for them to jump ahead of the Yas Heat Community car and maybe try to close in onto West Competition Racing. This is how Carecas got the move done. It's just speed difference down into the hairpin.
Yeah, that was a fairly non-committal move, was it? Yeah, just got it done, job done. Right. Sorry.
How good is your memory, David?
that reaction should tell you everything, Yousuf.
Okay.
Why?
Do you remember what our main talking point was 1 week ago at Bathurst?
Was it the teams? As in, like, the manufacturers?
Yes, it was. And in particular, it was talking about the straight line speed difference and how the BMWs, despite being quicker, were unable to find a way through on the McLarens, and the McLarens, when faster, were able to be all over the rear end of the BMWs on the straights. And I think that's what we've seen here, because we saw the 89 before unable to find a way through when in that train. But now we see the McLaren on the back of the BMW. It's got a significant straight line advantage and is able to get the move done down towards Corsia, the hairpin at turn 8.
Yeah, that's actually a very good spot there, because obviously apart from the Porsche, it is a McLaren, almost a 1-2-3, but the Porsche of Max Voigtner putting paid to those plans there. I guess we can imply that this is not a circuit that favours the BMWs there, given that they are 5th, 6th and 7th place right now. But the McLarens, I mean, the McLarens tend to be such a good car for almost all situations, almost all tracks. There's one or two that they really do struggle with, but for the most part, I mean, the Macas really are blindingly quick here.
Yeah, very solid cars. The McLaren, remember at the start of the year, the BMWs were incredible when they got released, but the McLarens were also very high up, and both the cars got a change to their BOP, a negative change to their BOP, but I think it was slightly more for the BMW. And I think most of the McLaren teams have expected that BMW to get hit a bit more than the McLaren did, so would have expected that McLaren to be better on towards the latter part of this season, but it's not quite turned out like that. Both McLaren and BMWs are still the dominant cars on the Assetto Corsa Competizione game.
Well, see, it's funny you say that, because I mean, obviously, one of the things that we talked about last time was this 1.8 update that came in a few months ago that really neutralised the field in terms of balance of performance. I think that's exactly what has happened with this field. So, yes, they are quick, and the McLaren's obviously having a really good run tonight, but it's not like before where we'd see 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds up the road in a 90-minute race. It's you know, really kind of brought things much closer together. However, Max Voigtner has he's done, I think, in terms of catching up for the leader. I mean, he's now dropped back about a second from Amir Hosseini. I think Hosseini is basically just, you know, he's got the tyres online now.
Yeah, and it was Max Voigtner who had their pit stop before Ahmed Hosseini, so they had a few more laps to warm up to the car. I think they did some laps in qualifying as well. Whereas Ahmed Hosseini, we didn't see him in the car in practice, we didn't see him in the car during qualifying, so those were his first laps in a while, so maybe he just needed a bit of time to warm up to the car. Now that he's found his feet, he is putting in some quick laps. 3.2 seconds the gap between Ahmed Hosseini in that 75 Yas Heat GTWR car leads over the 116 Porsche of the Jardier community car.
And isn't he just? He's really getting so comfortable now. Hosseini, fastest lap of the race, 34 laps in. We've got 34 minutes left to go, and yet again now, doesn't really give you any cause for concern or any reason to think that anything is actually going to change here. Angus Fender doing a decent job of holding on to the back of Grantas Caracas there. Realistically though, I think that McLaren is unlucky to have not been able to do that move earlier on, because the BMW, if you remember, you know, Gregor Schill chomping at the bit at the back of that car, but I'm wondering if it was because the McLaren had burnt through its tyres at such an early stage.
And it's something that we brought up back at, I believe it was the Nürburgring, when we talked about McLaren tyre wear versus BMW tyre wear, and we assumed, I say assumed because I don't think we've got a conclusive answer to it yet, but we believe that the BMW is slightly better on its tyres, and at the very end of a stint it really comes back in. But right now Grantas Caracas is not really making many inroads onto Statsenko. That being said, he is pulling away from Angus Fender behind.
So we're still watching Grantas Caracas here, and as you said, let's have a look at out of the top 10 then, because in 10th position then is the 125 RNE Team Red Machine, and that is Robin Hulaman, currently under huge pressure right now from the number 70 Riser Esports Machine, and that is well, it's I've got down as Teal Jursen. It's behind the wheel of that one. In fact, no, I don't. That's Wojciech Dvorak. That happens when you read the wrong line, David. So, yeah, Wojciech Dvorak in 11th place there. Then in the 28 behind them, that is the BMW of FDSR. Now, remember, they started in last position, so some good positions made up for that number 28 car, and that is Adam Foster currently behind the wheel of that one. And then we've got our brand new car for this race here. It's Hussein Gazempor in the number 789 Ferrari just now in 13th position. Then it's the number 5 last minute competition, and that is John Racer behind the wheel of that one down in 14th position. It's then the 72 car of Rev Sport International. Got to see them down in 15th position because, again, they bring so much support into the YouTube chat as well. In the BMW down in 15th position, that's Jimmy Lynn in that car there. Then it's the 323. Now, this car not having the best of days. It's the FSDR Slow Runners machine, and you'll have to excuse me because it was actually them that started in last position. But that is currently Dan Stevens behind the wheel of that one. And then out of the race is the 724 with a disconnect of Prodal. Now, your race leader of Amir Hosseini is coming up to some rather tasty backmarker action here, because we've got cars fighting, and I do believe is that the Porsche of Wojtek Dvorak and of Adam Foster. I think it is. So this is going to be an epic battle for him to try and get his way past here, and a little bit dangerous as well.
That is the 789, I believe. That is in front of Ahmed Hosseini, as Ahmed will get past one, and, well, he's got past one of them. That's John Eraser, and has got past, he's got the Ferrari ahead of him. Now, there was a mistake from Max Voigtner on the last lap because he's only 1.6 seconds ahead of Mikhail Statsenko. Those guys haven't got past any back markers just yet, as in the background, I think we might have a bit of a move, as that's John Eraser defending from the 72 of Lynn.
Well, this is, this is starting to get a little bit interesting. So many different little elements starting to come into the mix here at Yousuf. With 30 minutes left to go, you get the feeling that this is Amir Hosseini's race to lose, essentially, here.
Oh, yeah.
He's got all of the dominoes in position. It's just about making sure that they all fall in exactly the right order.
Yeah, and I really want to highlight this battle that is on our screens right now. Robin Hulleman defending from Wojtek Dvorak. Robert Hulleman for RNE Endurance, they are currently sitting in 8th in the championship, 484 points. Riser Esports, 5th, 481 points, and Riser Esports will go down the inside as Hulleman tries to hold it around the outside.
Fantastic move there. There we go. That's what we like to see. And then immediately
Wide.
It goes wide. Right, okay. I'll take that all back then. As Dvorak might actually have this inside line for the next corner. Hulleman is going to try and sweep that car on the inside. I think he's taking a little bit. Nope, he's not. I thought he took a little bit too much speed into the corner there. But there you go. That's it. Job done. And I don't think the Porsche is going to have much left to answer for on that one.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but we've seen Dvorak on the rear end of the RNE car before. Can they eventually find a way through? Now, Max Voigtner has Statsenko 1.3 seconds behind him. He's right there. He's on your screen right now, or in the background of your screen, as Voigtner gets held up by the 72 of Lynn.
Ooh, this is, yeah, okay, that's not what you want to see, but anyway, Voigtner gets past. The thing is, like, these cars are all doing their own thing, they're all racing their own race here, and that is the Porsche trying to have a look up the inside, not quite having it there, late into the corner there, ahead of, behind Robin Hulleman here. You get the feeling this battle is one that's going to rage on for quite a few laps as well here, because Wojtek Dvorak very, very late on the brakes into turn 1. Power slides the car around Tokyo Drift style there. I almost swear I could hear the Teriyaki Boys in the background there, but either way, gets away with that one. But it looks like Hulleman really is going to have a lot on his hands there, because that car's starting to look a little bit sketchy.
Okay, so let's break down this race right now. Voigtner in second, Statsenko just over a second behind. They've got the BMW of Lynn in between the pair of them in that burgundy 72 BMW. Now, Carecas is closing in onto Statsenko, not by a huge amount, but he is closing in. The other thing to keep your eyes out on is Mikleya closing in onto Angus Fender. We might have a battle for P5 that could have an impact on the championship, as this time Hulleman runs wide.
Oofed is all I'm going to say on that one, as Dvorak still He gets the position, but this is starting to get very aggressive now. You can tell the mannerisms of the two cars here. And I'm going to make a bold, outlandish prediction. Both these cars are going to come in contact within the next 2 laps here. 100%. You can see that from the aggression shown by both the drivers here. And this is what I love. This is a battle for 10th position. This isn't a battle for the race win. This is a battle for 10th position. It's... yeah, this is mega stuff, and look, fair play to the guys at GT Omega for, you know, securing this stellar lineup where we've got battles going on all the way through outside the top 10.
David, I'm still waiting for your bold prediction.
They're going to hit each other within the next 2 laps.
That's not a bold prediction.
That is.
It would be bold to say that they don't hit each other.
That's the boldest you're going to get. But, I mean, like, realistically, the action seems to have kind of faded out now. The drivers all kind of getting themselves into to gaps here. And I'm just looking here at Jimmy Lynn right now. Now, Jimmy is in an unenviable position because he's got Grantas Caracas right behind him. But I'm still...
a good name, isn't it?
Grantas Caracas. It's a very guttural Scottish pronunciation, isn't it?
Oh, is he Scottish now?
No, I'm just saying it's a nice name that, you know, that Scottish accent can really get your teeth into. Caracas. Go on, Yousuf, you have to do a Scottish accent. Caracas, yeah. You have to do a Scottish accent for the rest of the broadcast. Because the GT Omega boys, they will. I believe they're from Glasgow. They will absolutely chip you.
That's fine. I'm used to getting that treatment in many a thing. I think if I do a Scottish accent, you've got to do the Italian accent, and then we can flame each other for how bad our accents are.
Wow. I'm sorry, what? That was as cool as cams you like there from Grantas Caracas there. To be fair, I think Jimmy Lynn from Rev Sport International, aware of the situation, and the consummate professional that he is, lets that car go. Great to see that happen. No, the Italian accent is not happening, despite me spending an entire month living over there and working over there. It's just not happening.
Did you see Caracas' rear end coming out of turn 13? It was really stepping out, but he's got through the back marker traffic. I say he's got through the back marker traffic, but he's now got a few more cars in front of him. Most specifically, yes, he's got the 789 of Gasimpur. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It might be a back of the throat G, so Gasimpur, or it just might be Gasimpur. I don't really know because I don't know where he's from, so it's quite hard to do the appropriate accent on a name when you don't know someone's country of origin, as Gasimpur slows down to let Caracas through, and that means that Johnny Lynn is going to close in onto it.
Yeah, it's a difficult one though, isn't it? Because, you know, you want to slow down, but again, it just means that it's so difficult to do, because you want to do the right thing. You want to get out the way of the cars in front, but then it's just a case of you know, you end up compromising yourself.
Now, okay, so you remember that incident between the 789 of the Ferrari and the 70 of Rise Esports that we saw? Like,
yes.
Yeah. The 789 got a penalty. That's where that 5-second penalty has come from. That contact between the pair of them. Yeah, so that's come through from the stewarding room. Also, I think you were right with your bold prediction, because Wojtek Dvorak is 3.5 seconds ahead of Kuliman. And I have a sneaky suspicion that maybe there was contact somewhere there, and that's how he's pulled such a big gap. Or maybe he's just that much quicker.
We've seen quite a few of the McLarens really struggling with the tail end of their car, so possibly Hulleman's just had a bit of a moment with himself there. But the 125 certainly in the middle of no man's land is. I definitely don't envy Angus Fender right now, having to try and get past through all of this this lap traffic right now. This is Gasimpur and Jimmy Lynn right now, and yeah, that's more than a bit sketchy right there.
Actually, that was Eraser and then Gasimpur is the next one up, which our championship leader, Angus Fender, will be finding a way through momentarily. Slows down, and once again, this is bringing Jimmy Lin and Johnny Razor into the battle.
Ding dong, let's go. That's exactly what we were going to say. I was literally just saying about how this, you know, the race was starting to calm itself down here, Yousuf, and that's exactly what we've got out of. But also, I'm noticing at the front, Amir Hosseini. Do you remember all that long time ago, Yousuf, when we were worried about that gap coming down? Well, it's now up to nearly 10 seconds. I think it's safe to say that McLaren is absolutely A-OK right now, as Max Voigtner now has 2 seconds between him and third place man of Mikhail Statsenko in the number 39, Grantas Caracas in fourth, Angus Fender in fifth, and then it is McLeod in the BMW in sixth position. But yeah, this is getting a little bit tasty, isn't it? Because, you know, I'm seeing this Ferrari. He's got Jimmy Lin right behind him, but then this is John Racer also there. And, you know, that BMW in the background is signalling to get some sort of attention. It's not really going to get any, is it?
Yep, as that is the BMW of Leclerc trying to work his way through these back markers. 2.1 seconds behind Angus Fender. If he can get through these guys cleanly, just about given enough space by the 72 of Jimmy Lin. And now Johnny Razor thinking that he can get his front nose up the inside into turn 5. That one wasn't going to be happening in a month of Sundays.
Eesh is all I'm going to say on that one. Look, to be fair, I just said eesh.
You know when I go to like family and friends, they're like, "Oh, you're a commentator." I'm like, "Yeah." They say, "Oh, so you must have like a really extensive vocabulary and blah blah blah." And here I've got David just going, "Yeesh."
It's the same. You know when you're doing like karate or boxing, it's the same sound when you make a punch sound. That's like eesh. No, but the thing is you never said that it was a Scottish commentator. Our limited vocabulary of like 25 words gets brought up by about 2 or 3. That's really about the long and the short of it. But the point I was making is, if you're John Racer, of course you're going to try and make that move. You know, it's not your fault that Jimmy Lin is being overly kind to the car in front. Yeah. However, this is going to end in tears.
Look, he's not called the Eraser for nothing.
Is gas and poor just a way to get erased? Is that what's the way to happen here?
Well, I mean, first, the Eraser's going to have to get through Jimmy Lin, and then he can erase gas. He can just do some multiple erasings going on.
Did you just see John Eraser there come flying into turn 1 at a rate of knots?
I did, actually, yeah. That was pretty nuts. As Mr. Stevens in the 3-2-3 has picked up a drive-through penalty. That will probably be for track limit excursions, as Leclerc has closed in onto the rear end of Angus Fender. If we remember back to earlier on in the race, the 31 of West Competition Racing, currently sitting 4th in the championship, had an incident and they lost about 5-6 seconds, so they could be so much further up the order. But alas for them, they are currently down in P6 on the rear end of your championship leaders, BS+ Competition Racing.
Yep, and less than 20 minutes left to go. This is where it's starting to get all of the attention onto it right now. As you said, Leclerc bringing that gap down massively over the last couple of laps here. Now just over 1 second to Angus Fender just up in front. I wonder if Fender's maybe burned through his tyres a little bit. The BMWs, the new M4 GT3s, do struggle a little bit if they go through their tyres a little bit much there, but it could just be Leclerc absolutely on it right now. We'll have to wait and see, but 18 minutes left to go in this race. This looks like it's going to be the big battle inside the top 10. Certainly everyone else is very much spread out here, Yousuf, but Statsenko also, I'm noticing, bringing that gap down to Max Voigtner as well.
Absolutely. 1.3 seconds closing back in. It was almost a second, but then Statsenko had to get through traffic. It then extended up to 2 seconds, and now it's coming back down. Caracas has been hovering around 3 seconds behind them, so he's really going to be hoping that the two in front battle with each other and bring him into play. Leclerc, though, 1 second behind Angus Fender, and I know I said if Caracas got into the top 3, I'd give him driver of the day. But my God, Amir Hosseini is absolutely flying. This guy might very well just be the fastest driver in ACC in literally the world. 11 seconds, and that gap was, what, 3 2-3 seconds at the start of his stint?
It was 1.8.
My
It came
God.
it came all the way down, remember? And we were wondering about it, and then yeah, it's all the way out. I mean, look, we cannot underplay what a stint it has been for Amir Hosseini in that Yas Heat GTWR machine. Absolutely incredible, incredible stuff here, and yeah, reaping the benefits of it here. This battle's still going on for 13th, 14th, and 15th position, and yeah, I've said it loads of times before, Yousuf, and it almost becomes a bit of a meme, but I'll say it again. It doesn't matter where you are in the grids. If you've got cars that you can fight with, and there we go, as Jimmy Lynn almost getting the better of Gas and Pour there, but ends up having to let off of that, and that almost sends him into the path of John Razor there.
Oh, the Eraser is searching. He's looking for a way through. But right now, he's just going to have to sit in behind his McLeod for the first time all race. At least for McLeod, maybe not for West Competition Racing, is within 1 second of Angus Fender. Carecas having brought the gap down to Statsenko under 3 seconds, 2.7 seconds. 16 minutes remaining. With that, we're talking about 10 laps nearly left in this race. Still plenty of time to see battles out on circuit.
Yeah, certainly is. 15 minutes left to go, and Yousuf, I've been very, very impressed at the quality of pace from all of these drivers right now, from the quality of the action that's out on track, and also, you know, the respect shown to all of the drivers here.
Absolutely, we've seen some fantastic racing. As always in racing, you'll get a bit of rubbing, a bit of scraping. It's what happens. It's one of the byproducts of it. But on the whole, it has been very clean, as it has been over all of the races that I've been commentating on at the very least. So fantastic to see here at MISANO. We talked about it at the top of the show, a more open circuit compared to Bathurst. We expected to see more wheel-to-wheel action, and that's exactly what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it certainly is, and watching that gap now between Angus Fender for 5th place now, that is starting to come down massively.
Oh yeah.
0.8 of a second between Fender and McLeod, and Andre McLeod for West Competition Racing looking like they have the pound seats right now, as they could be taking that 5th position, and that could be more crucial points getting lost here for that number 30. For that number 89. BS+ Competition. Currently leading the championship right now, it is Amir Hosseini in the number 75 Yas Heat GTWR car, chasing them down in that 2nd place, so they will be loving it if they get some more points over their championship leaders right now.
And a big chunk of points is going to be going the way of that 75 Yas Heat by GWTR car. This championship will come down to the final race, and if Angus Fender gets passed by McLeod, I'm not going to pretend to anyone that I've done the exact math, but we'll be in a situation where the 75 would then need to win at Silverstone, and the 31 BS+ competition car would have to finish. I want to say it would be around P4, P5, and then the 75 would win the championship. So that's what we're talking about. 1st versus 4th at Silverstone as things currently stand.
Well, we'll certainly keep our eye open for that as well. But yeah, here we go now. This is it. This is the battle that's been raging or building up, certainly for the past 5 laps now, as Andre McLeod for West Competition Racing. What a job he's done with the pace of that car. Same car, BMW right there, and all onto the back there of Angus Fender. The BS+ competition car now going to have to do a hell of a lot of work in the next 13 minutes to hold on to that position. To be honest, Yousuf, is there any argument for Fender just letting him take it rather than making him fight for it, or do you force him tooth and nail to drag that position?
You fight tooth and nail for this position. You look over to the gap to Jurison in P7, 18 seconds. Even if you have, let's call it a bit of an argy-bargy here, you're not going to be losing out too much time. And if you give up this position and anything goes wrong in Silverstone, we're talking about racing, things can go wrong so easily. Any mistake can happen. You can have a lap 1 incident. If that does happen at Silverstone, you could be ruining the fact that you didn't defend this position. Angus Fender will fight for this with his life.
Certainly will, and this is exactly why we're keeping our eye on this one. Leclerc poised and stuck to the tail end of that BMW in front, and Fender makes a mistake, clips the curb, the car goes flying over, and that is going to be handing the position on a silver plate to Andre Leclerc. Fender's going to try and get his wheels alongside on the start-finish straight here. I don't think it's going to be enough going into turn one. He's going to try and go around the outside there. Will not get that in. Squeezes his way past, forces it, and is going to have the outside line. I think Leclerc is going to make that stick and have that all done and dusted. So Fender, yeah, trying to make it happen, but yeah, that might have been a little bit aggressive on the tail end of that car there. But that is a stunning move there from Andrea Leclerc. So yeah, great job to make that point stick there. And yeah, awesome job. 11 minutes left to go in the race.
I mean, at the end of the day, Andre Leclerc didn't even have to do anything, right? All he did was just put a bit of pressure on Angus Fender, and no offense to Fender, but he bottled it, right? He made that mistake, he ran wide, he desperately tried to fight back, and I will give Fender credit for that, because he tried to hold it round the outside of turn 1, he muscled his way down the inside of turn 2, but then he's on the outside of turn 3, and it was so easy for Leclerc to hold on to the position, and now that black 31 BMW is just going to drive off into the distance.
Oh man, what a race we've had. Let's regroup then as Amir Husseini in the Yas Heat GTWR car strikes off his 50th lap of the race here, the penultimate race of the GT Omega Challenger Cup, ahead of the number 116 of Max Voigtner. Mikhail Statsenko currently in third position there, and I'm keeping my eye on this battle for 5th position because Fender had a fairly decent run there over Andre Leclerc, but it is Grantas Caracas in 4th position ahead of this battle here for 5th and 6th. It's then Till Jursen in the 99 BMW in 7th, Claude Neiring in 8th position, Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez in 9th, and then Wojtek Dvorak in 10th position as we've got 10 minutes left to go here.
Honestly, with how things are looking right now, it feels like BS+ Competition just didn't do their homework coming into this race. Their pace just hasn't been as extraordinary as it has been over previous races, and I just wonder if maybe there was a little bit less effort going into the setup. Maybe the same amount of effort went in, but they just couldn't get that setup right. Maybe they thought this championship has been practically wrapped up. They took their foot off the gas pedal a bit, and now they find themselves in a tricky situation. And it's all going to go down to Silverstone, exactly how we want to see a championship unfold. And the other thing is, momentum is on the side of that 75 Yas Heat by GWTR car. Keep your eyes, though, on the battle for second in this race, because Statsenko has been slowly but surely closing in. The gap now 1.3 seconds. It is almost under a second with 9 minutes remaining. 1.4 seconds across the line, and Caracas 2.2 seconds. He's been diligently chipping away at that gap to Statsenko. Remember, it was about 5 seconds or so before his stint began. It was probably about 7 seconds, but he had to find a way through on Angus Fender and then close in this gap, and he has done that so well, but I just feel like he needs another 5 or 6 minutes in this race.
Certainly is, but again, it's that whole thing of shoulda, woulda, coulda, isn't it? You know, every driver could have had an amazing stint if it was for another 5 laps. It's
well, I don't think Angus Fender would be having an amazing stint if he had an extra 5 laps.
Yeah, I'm going to back up BS+ Competition a little bit. I don't think it's certainly today's performance is due to anything like lack of preparation or complacency, or they thought that they had the championship in the bag. I think what we have to do is we have to see the fact that the 3 BMWs are outside the podium positions right now. So the BMW obviously isn't the best car for this track. That is obviously with the fact that we've got 3 McLarens and a Porsche up there in the top 4. That's a fact. It's just not the best car to have today. I think they've done the best of a bad situation on that, and I think that strategy and also just maybe having
okay,
a
so
slightly
no, I've
better
got a question
setup.
for you. I've got a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Right, no, looking at your notes, how many podiums do you think BMWs have gotten this season outside of that 89 BS Plus competition racing car?
I want to say 0.
1. West Competition Racing,
So
the
it's close.
31 car at Kyalami. So the fact that we're not seeing any BMWs, excluding BS Plus Competition Racing, actually fits in with what we've seen over this season so far in terms of the car. It just doesn't fit in with how ludicrously good BS Plus Competition have been up until this race.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll definitely maybe give you that one. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it's
It is speculation, right?
it is speculation, but the simple fact is as well is to go from being so dominant in the championship to being 28 seconds behind the race leader. Yeah, that's it's not the usual thing. Did I just see that right? Is that Max Voigtner and Statsenko together on
Yep.
track?
It is. And
Voigtner
in
had
the
an
back of the
absolute
screen, correct?
horror out of that corner there, so Voigtner is under huge pressure right now.
Now, how does Mikhail Statsenko want to play this? Because he will be aware that Carekas is 2.3 seconds behind. And if Statsenko gives it everything right now, it could mean that Carekas comes into play. And maybe he takes both of them and ends up in P2. 6 minutes remaining. We're talking about 4 laps in this race. Maybe a 5th, depending on how quick Ahmed Hosseini can get around. But Voigtner is under pressure and he's going to want to defend this position. The best result that the Jardier community car has gotten so far this season is a P3 at Kyalami, and they're looking to go one better currently.
I think that Porsche's cooked its tyres. I think that's exactly what's happened there, because look at Grantas Caracas. He is making inroads as well, and that is a spot-on observation. I think that Caracas could be in a very good position to have a podium right now, but Statsenko all over the back of Max Voigtner in that 116 machine. And the thing is, as well, is that you know for a fact that Voigtner is going to try desperately to defend that position. We've only got 5 minutes left to go in the race here. Caracas starting to close the gap a tiny little bit, not enough to make any big inroads right now. But yeah, that 116 under real pressure. So the Jardier community car here, this could be very, very awkward in the final couple of minutes of this race.
And I tell you what, it is Yas Heat looking at a 1-2. It would be their first 1-2 of the season. They've had 1-3s before at Donington, at Nürburgring. Actually, no, sorry, I'm just double checking that. They've had a 2-3 at Donington and a 2-3 at Nürburgring. They've had a 1-3 at Spa when the Yas Heat community car won the race, but they've never had a 1-2, and we might just be a few minutes away from that 1-2 finish.
It's definitely on the cards. I'm not going to deny that one. The problem is that McLaren needs to safely get past the Porsche of Max Voigtner, and Voigtner doing a great job of really wringing every single tenth of a second out of that car, so much so that I think Statsenko is in a little bit of no man's land. He has to try and make this move, but ultimately, oh, that's super, super deep into the brakes there. That is exactly the sort of risk that I'm talking about there. You cannot be doing that with 3 minutes left to go in the race, because, I mean, a 90-minute racing, if you end up making a mistake on the final 2-3 minutes of the race and end up losing a podium, yeah, you're going to have a very difficult conversation with your teammates there.
And don't forget, these are the 2 community cars as well. Jardier Community, the 116 car, currently sitting in P6 in the championship on 506 points. They're 12 points behind the Yas Heat community car, that 39. So as the things that currently stand, they would be taking 10 points out of their 12-point deficit, which would mean 2 points would separate the teams heading into Silverstone.
Yeah, certainly is. And I've just sent you a little tiny message on the Discord there, Yousuf. So if you could have a little peek at that. But 3 minutes left to go in this race then. Amir Hosseini still in the lead then from Max Voigtner. Statsenko in third place. Grantas Caracas in fourth place there. Andre Mikla in fifth position. Fender down in sixth. That's your championship leaders right now. 2 3/4 minutes left to go here. I honestly just don't know how this is going to pan out.
Well, 2.5 minutes. How does it pan out? Statsenko half a second behind, and he's all over the rear end of the Porsche. A back marker McLaren up ahead could add a little bit of drama to the works. Carreras 1.3 seconds behind. He was over 2 seconds behind just 3 or so minutes ago. Take a look at your mini-map. Where is the 75 of Armin Husseini? He is making his way into Sector 2, which means that when he comes across the line, I think we're going to be on the final lap of the race. We're going to be on the final lap of the race with Voitner, Statsenko, and Carreras separated by less than 1.5 seconds. And any little contact between these two could bring Carreras into play. I just feel like we're 2, 3, 4 minutes shy of what could have been an incredible end here at Misano. But maybe Voitner has planned this perfectly well. Maybe he knows that he can't be touched. The 75 just went across the line, and we are not on the final lap of the race. We have 2 laps left here at Misano. 2 laps left for some late drama.
Right, I promise we haven't scripted this in any way whatsoever, but my goodness me, I'm going to take it anyway. So, Voitner, I don't know. I don't think he's as safe as you might think he is, because Statsenko, he is the master of taking risks and calculated risks as well. He'll only push if he absolutely thinks he needs to right now. And remember, that light will turn white as soon as the timer hits 0. So I think this will be the last lap. Certainly, we'll double check that anyway. But the number 75.
Come on, Husseini, put in a banger lap. We want one more lap.
If he does cross the line before that timer hits 0, then obviously yeah, we absolutely will. But I don't know. It's going to be super tight. We'll keep an eye on that. But Statsenko, I mean, it's now or never, is it? I think now he's too far back. He has to be much closer to make this work.
And Carreras 1.4 seconds behind the pair of them. He's lost a bit of time on that last lap. So close, but yet so far. That's the 75 of Armin Husseini making his way through the final corner. Will he get to the line in time? It's going to be so close.
That's it.
No,
it's done.
It's over.
So, no warning whatsoever. Husseini crosses the line about 0.5 of a second after the 90 minutes is up. So it's a race win then for GTWR Yas Heat. And then it's going to be second place then for Max Voitner in the 116. Porsche there, great result for them in the Jardier community car. The 39 of Mikhail Statsenko across the line as well in third position there. And yeah, that could have been so much worse for them, but a great job for that number 39 Yas Heat community car as well. Fourth place for Grantas Caracas in the 14 Volante Racing machine. Then it is Andre Miklea in the 31 BMW across line for West Competition Racing. That is a scalp and a half to have taken that position towards the end of the race there from BS+ Competition and Angus Fender. Then it is the 99 in 7th position there, and that is the other BMW of Lutz Motorsports. Cloud Niring in the 991 Bentley getting that 8th position. No Solid Vasquez Rodriguez in 9th position, and Wojtek Dvorak in 10th position. But my God, what a race that was there, and I'm fascinated to see how the results or how the points are going to look after this one here.
So what I can confirm, I have done the maths. BS+ Competition now lead the championship by 40 points. If if Yas Heat by GWTR wins the next race and BS+ Competition come in 5th, BS+ Competition will win the championship by a single point after Silverstone.
Well, that's done it, hasn't it? That has blown the championship wide open with 1 round left to go. But there you go, confirmation there. Mir Husseini and Luke Whitehead taking top honours tonight. Valentin Barrier and Max Voitner taking second place. And Yaroslav Honzik and Mikhail Statsenko. That's chalk and cheese, isn't it? You've got super bubbly, happy Yaroslav Honzik and super Mr. Serious Mikhail Statsenko. But my goodness me, he got the job done tonight. 3rd place for them. And what a race, Yousuf. That was amazing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I'm still that tiny bit sad that we didn't get that final lap battles because we got so close. They were closing in lap after lap, and we were, what, 2 laps away? But I think tyres were really at the end of their life at the end. Angus Fender actually almost managed to find a way back through up into P5, but still an incredible race and fantastic to be able to be part of that.
We've almost run out of superlatives for this race here. It's incredible. It's been fantastic. It's been wonderful. I mean, it's been all of those things because, like we've said so many times before, we've done a lot of races on commentary individually, and
Yeah.
some of them can be absolute snorefests. And every single one of these GT Omega Challenger Cup races have been certified bangers. They have just been from start to
Except
finish.
Bathurst.
Bathurst, Bathurst was pretty epic, I think. But Bathurst had a lot of drama. Maybe it didn't have a lot of
Yeah,
overtaking,
okay, it had
but it had
drama. I
a
remember
lot
that.
of drama.
Yeah, especially with the issues that we saw for Zahid at Essa and then bringing him back into play.
Yeah,
Silverstone's going to be a cracker, isn't it?
Silverstone, it's going to be good. It's probably out of the whole series of circuits, probably my least favorite track that is there. It's so boring. I just, again, I'm home hands up, personal opinion here. I just find it an absolute snore fest because it's like,
I love Maggots and Beckett's in the GT cars because it's like every time you go
yeah,
through one
yeah.
of the corners, it's like one downshift, one down. It feels so cool.
But it's
Um,
it's so wide as well that there's never any drama. There's always like runoff, or there's 15,000 yards of concrete that you can just take to if you decide that you
like
don't
here
want to
at
go.
Misano.
Uh, Yeah, but not to the same extent because obviously Silverstone's such a high speed circuit. Like going out of
Mm.
cops, you make a mistake. What are you going to do? Just run across the asphalt on the left hand side there. There's never any drama or worry unless you actually properly bid it. Anyway, uh, Yusuf, we've actually got some drivers to have a chat with tonight.
We've got a lot of drivers. So do you want to bring in our first? I like to call them victims. I don't know about you. Is it- well, I think with that we have a couple of our drivers in. David, do you want to take us away?
Yeah, certainly. So we do have Max Voigtner and Valentin Barrier. A very good evening, gentlemen. Talk us through that race because that was pretty epic.
Yeah. Well, we've been chasing that podium for a while now, so it's nice to be there. um, yeah, the race was just pretty clean from us. We managed to overtake on the early stage the Volante Racing McLaren, and from that point, I managed to drive away from the fighting group behind me, which massively helped us. So I drove away by like 3 or 4 seconds, and then just gave the car to Max, and he made it home in P2. It was close, but still made it home in P2.
And you really were made to work for that P2. But Max, when you left the pits and that gap to a race leader started coming down perilously close, was there a moment where you thought, hang on a minute, we could actually do this?
No, after I've seen Amir do a couple of high 32s, I was like, not happening. We are definitely fighting for P2, and that's gonna be maximum. There was no way we are gonna catch them with that pace.
Honestly, we saw the same because we saw them come out the pits and we saw that first couple laps. We thought, all right, okay, this could happen, and then we saw that it really lighten up those times. At that point, I mean, what can you actually do? When you've just got somebody that's that fast.
I mean, obviously, if I would be close enough for a fight, I would have tried. That's clear. But yeah, after he settled in, his tires came up to life. He was just pulling crazy lap times. I was mainly focused on running away from Mr. Statsenko because I knew he was gonna be rapid.
And obviously, some huge points for yourselves tonight for the Jardier community team. That's going to take you in contention with the top three moving into the final round at Silverstone.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, we already know that BMW is extremely strong on Silverstone, so that's gonna be difficult to fight with them.
we're hoping for rain on Silverstone to help us a little bit.
Any chance of bringing out the old Porsche torpedo at Silverstone at all? You know, maybe just knock them down like bowling pins at Maggots and Beckett's. We'll turn the other loop. We'll switch off race control just for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine then. We can do this.
Joking aside, though, I mean, obviously Silverstone a very high speed track. What do you think you can get out of that final race?
If it's dry, the Porsche is still pretty good there, but I think the BMW and the McLaren, especially the BMW, has a bit of an edge on the Porsche. But if it's wet, then the tables are gonna turn around, and we should have the edge with the Porsche over the BMW. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Well, that's exactly what we are going to do with bated breath. Finally, guys, anybody that you'd like to thank, any sponsors you need to give a shout out to?
Just shout out to Yas Heat Community.
Yeah.
You know?
Excellent stuff. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for that, and we'll hopefully speak to you next time out at Silverstone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So there we go, Max Voigtner and Valentin Barrier there, Yousuf. And talking of Jardier, I think we've got the man himself along with Mikhail Statsenko, finished in third there. But I mean that could have been so much closer. So let's bring in Jardier and Mikhail Statsenko for a little chat with us just now, as we see Mikhail coming into the room, and Jardier is in with us as well. Yousuf, I'm going to let you take this one.
Sure. I'm going to jump to Mikhail first. Mikhail, that final stint, you got so tantalizingly close to P2. So I'm going to ask you, how many more laps do you think you needed if you were to take second?
I mean, it was very, very close, as you said. I think one lap, Amir just slowed down a bit, I guess, before the line. And yeah, I think one lap, and it could have changed the final result.
You had a lot of pace, and I mean, to be fair, it was a good result from you guys, but you got so close to getting the first 1-2 for Yas Heat. Do you think you can get it at Silverstone?
I think at Silverstone is going to be quite hard for us because BMW will have a very, very good pace. So I think it's going to be like near impossible, but we can fight still.
Wonderful. I'll move over to your teammate, Jardier. Jardier, qualifying was very close. Welcome into the commentary booth. Pleasure to have you in.
Thank you so
Qualifying
much.
was close, and that first stint was very close as well.
Yeah, I was very frustrated with the qualification because, like, I don't know why the conditions or the car or tires, whatever, didn't work exactly as in a practice. So the pace was like way, like in a free practice, everyone was doing 32.4. And suddenly in this quali, we were like 4 or 5 tenths almost slower. And I was really having a hard time with the car. So I was very frustrated. But then I kind of restarted for the race and I had a great battles. I really enjoyed those. Like, I think with Gregor, we had a very nice side by side for like a couple of corners. And then I was trying to get Riley for several laps as well until his mistake. So yeah, I really enjoyed the first stint. It was really good.
So I do have a question for you in terms of the championship. With that result, your Yas Heat Community team is now only 2 points ahead of the Jardier Community team. So I want to know how you are feeling at the end of the race with your community team beating your team, but I have a feeling that they're going to be holding that one over you now for a bit.
I mean, they obviously deserve it. They like both Valentin and Max were driving fabulous, you know, the whole race. And obviously Max hold up really nicely when Misha caught up with him, so he didn't do any mistakes and he was driving brilliant. So I think they really deserve it, yeah. But I'm gonna definitely hover over them that we joined the championship in the third round, you know. So we already caught up with them in the points. So yeah, looking forward for the Silverstone, where I think it's gonna be easier for us to beat them. But let's hope for a rain or something to make it interesting.
I think they were saying that they're hoping for rain as well. So, David, I'll throw to you if you've got any final questions for.
Yeah, I was just waiting to ask Yaroslav, how awkward would it have been if you had your community car bopping into you? Obviously, you're racing for Yas Heat, but yeah, that's surely a little bit of awkwardness there.
What do you mean? Like, how do you mean?
Also, the other guys were in the Jardier Community car, and I'm just thinking if they'd fought you a little bit too hard there for that second place there, I'm wondering how happy you would have been with that one.
I'd be super happy if you would overtake them, obviously. I would definitely take that there. But we were all on the voice chat, so we were like, we were trying to shit talk each other and such in the last minutes of the race. So definitely there was a good sportsmanship in the last 10 minutes on the voice chat together.
Excellent stuff. Well, Yousuf, that's it from me.
Wonderful. Well, Jardier, Mikhail Statsenko, thank you very much for jumping into the commentary booth, and we'll hopefully see you again at Silverstone, and hopefully with some rain along with it.
Oh, let's go, please.
There we go then. Jardier, aka Jaroslav Honzik, and Mikhail Statsenko taking that brilliant effort there. It was so close at the end there. Now we do have Luke Whitehead, who is on his own in the waiting room, Yousuf. So let's bring Luke into the booth, saving, I guess you could say, the best till last. Luke, what a performance. That was a race and a half there, my friends.
Thank you. I called it last week. I said that if everything went right, we'd win. And I mean, I've got to say, Amir was a sort of a last-minute super sub, to be honest. I mean, George he was intending to do the race, but unfortunately he's been ill. So I basically messaged Amir at like 5 and was like, "Hey, can you race?" And he was like, "Sure." So he hopped in, and obviously we all saw kind of what happened, to my surprise. So I'm a bit speechless, to be honest. I mean, I hoped we'd win, but I didn't expect by that margin. 21 seconds is a huge amount. It is a huge amount. So ecstatic, absolutely ecstatic.
Just on that note as well, I mean, there was a bit after the pit stop and you handed the car over to Amir and he came out the pits and we're seeing that gap to the Porsche behind starting to come down. We're like, oh, hang on, have we got a little fight going on? And then whatever happened, we just saw Hosseini absolutely light up the times and stretch out that gap. Now, was that just him gently bringing the tyres up to speed?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, I went quite long on my tyres because I knew, obviously, having Amir on lighter fuel and also newer tyres would just win us the race. I knew that because in practice he was just exceptionally quick. Like, I mean, he was intending to do quali because he was quicker than me, but his PC was like crashing and we had a bit of a panicky quali session, actually. I wasn't really meant to be doing quali, so it was a bit stressful there, but Amir just took a lap or two just to bring the tyres in, and then once he switched them on, he was just rocket ship, absolute rocket. So I'm really happy with how he drove. As I said, it was a bit late notice, and for him to be that fast was just exactly what we needed heading into the final round. Obviously, we needed a good one after the bad luck that we've had the last sort of 3 rounds, I'd say. So to win and for BS Plus to be P6 and for us to, as I sort of predicted last week, to destroy them was perfect. Really good to get back at them, obviously. So it does put a bit of a smug grin on my face, I'll be honest.
And rightfully so. I mean, a pivotal round for this GTA Mega Challenger Cup Championship, given that the gap was about 85 points coming into this round today. That's now been almost halved completely, and it means that literally everything, all rests on this final race. How do you think the car is going to be around Silverstone?
It's hard to call. I mean, I know the McLaren's pretty handy around there, but from what I've heard from a few people and from what I've seen in other races, the M4 is head and shoulders above the rest. So it's going to be a tough one. But again, I have faith in myself and George, and we've been, really strong all season. If anything, at some tracks we've been outperforming the car. So I think we've definitely got the potential to win the race next week. I think to win the championship, we need the BS Plus boys to have a mare, as they kind of did this round. So, the chance is there, albeit it's relatively a small chance, but, I think it's all to play for. I think we've put them a little bit under pressure. At least I'd like to think so. So again, we've just got to do the same thing next week and hope that they have mistakes and crumble under the pressure. That's the hope we have. So.
Well, let's see what happens. Yousuf, have you got anything to ask?
Yeah, I'll just jump in because Luke, you do sound like you've got a massive smile on your face. It was practically a perfect day for you guys. The only slight blemish was qualifying. But heading towards Silverstone, considering how tight, and at least for me, how surprisingly tight the field was in qualifying, there must be a thought in the back of your head that things can definitely go your way at Silverstone, especially considering like the amount of bad luck that you've had earlier in the season, and now it's seemingly starting to flip in your favor.
Then, I mean, yeah, I myself was very shocked at how close qualifying was. I mean, in practice, it didn't look that close, and then in quali, obviously, I don't know whether people just made mistakes. I mean, I know I didn't get a lap down, so to put it on P2 was a bit of a shock for me. But yeah, Silverstone is one of those tracks where everyone's generally quite bunched, because obviously it's quite flowing. I think the cars, for the most part, are relatively similar. And I think the driving skill, I think a lot of people are very, very similar in terms of how they find Silverstone. So, yeah, anything can really happen. I mean, as you said, don't jinx it, but the luck has kind of switched on its head this round. I mean, everything went perfectly. Apart from qualifying, I think beyond turn 1, we led every single lap. So, hopefully we can carry that momentum into Silverstone. But as I say, anything can happen, and obviously the luck's gone our way this round. Fingers crossed it'll continue, but again, I don't want to jinx it. I really don't. So, yeah, we're just gonna have to see what happens next Wednesday. But I'm very excited for it.
Final question from me. I heard from the Yas Heat Community team and the Jardier Community team. They both want rain for Silverstone. Would you be happy to see rain at Silverstone?
You don't know. I mean, I've not done a huge amount round there in general. Rain would spice it up. And from what I am aware, the M4 is not quite as strong in the wet. So if we get a wet setup nailed, then that could help us out. But again, I honestly don't know. I'm going into it completely blind. But to be honest, whatever the weather, I'll race it. And me and George will give it. Or if George isn't recovered, whoever replaces him will all give it our all. That's all we can do. And we can't let weather or conditions put us off. We just got to do the job, get our heads down, and just give it hell. As we did this round and as we have done the whole season. So yeah, but I'm excited for the fight. I mean, it's been a great fight the whole season. We just got to keep it going and hope it swings our way.
Okay, that's everything from me, David.
Excellent. So, Luke, I guess finally, is there anybody you need to thank or any sponsors to give a shout out to tonight?
So, I mean, firstly, I've got to give a thank you to Amir. As I said, he's just gone to military service just after that race, so he's hopped in at short notice, worked on a setup that with myself.
Wow.
We've hopped in, won the race by a mile, and then he's gone off to military service. I honestly don't know how he does it, and all of that was him trying to fix as well PC crashing. Like he didn't have it fixed until he hopped in the car. It was kind of unknown whether it would be fixed or not, and it was. So, massive credit to him. He really showed his mettle today, which is obviously Amir's Amir. He's always going to be rapid. So, yeah, massive thank you to him. I'm also going to give a shout out to GTWR as per usual. Obviously representing them is a huge honor from my side. I always kind of looked up to them as the absolute best. They still are in my eyes. So to be part of that team is huge for me, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And obviously the endless support that those guys have put in is great. And also give thank you to you guys, the GT Omega guys, and obviously you guys for commentating. The coverage is always great, and it's great to have more series like this. I hope that this isn't the last. I hope that you guys put on more shows like this, because I mean the format's great, the season's great, and the racing's been great. So I can't really say any more than that.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. We'll make sure we'll try and twist the arms of the GTA Mega guys to make sure we can do this again. But Luke, congratulations to you and Amir, and thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. Take care of yourselves.
So there we go. That is your race winners, and Yousuf, obviously a very, very happy young man there. What a super sub from Amir Hosseini. I mean, to do that and then immediately just bolt off because you've got to go and do military service. What?
I'm going to be honest. I think super sub is an insult to Amir Hosseini.
I know.
Considering that that was an incredible drive. The man pulled out 20 seconds over a 40-minute stint.
To be fair, I could do that. I could do that. Just 20 minutes, like behind the leader. That's what I'd lose
Right,
in like
okay.
one lap. Yeah. But no, a brilliant performance by Yas Heat GTWR leaves everything in the balance ahead of next week. And just very briefly, Yousuf, let's talk on next week, the championship decider over at Silverstone.
You know what? Yas Heat by GTWR are going to win it. They're going to take it.
Ooh, straight in there. I have to agree. And only because I think that BS+ Competition are going to have the stronger outfit, but Yas Heat GTWR, they have got the momentum. They have got their wind in their sails after an amazing performance tonight. But it all rests on that weather. That is what is going to decide next week. And the only way you can find out what happens next week, ladies and gentlemen, is to stay subscribed to the GT Omega Twitch channel. Hit that little button in the bottom right, just down there, and do that little that way. I know I keep forgetting that it's mirrored. It's down here, guys. Down here. There you go. Hit that subscribe button on Twitch and keep yourself viewed onto the channel. But this has been the GT Omega Challenger Cup. I've been David Christie, and he has been Yousuf Bin-Suhayl. That way. There we go. There we are. A huge thank you to Yousuf for joining me tonight. A huge thank you to our production team behind the scenes at GT Omega. And a huge thank you to our commercial partners as well, to Simracing.GP and to Moza for their incredible wheels. And as always, a huge thank you to GT Omega as well, gtomega.co.uk, where you can find out all the information on that one. Until next week, until we are back at Silverstone, we are going to take a collective long breath and try and catch ourselves after that one. Thank you so much for watching tonight, guys. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you for the season finale.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Show me what you got. Oh,
Is that everything you got?
last turn.
Catch me if you can.
That was great.
That was a good game.
Unlock true experience with GT Omega.
Unleash the racer in you and feel the thrill of racing all out on the open road.